of a house in the county is now just under €200,000, up 19% from this time last year. The number of new home transactions in Donegal has also increased by 19% to 76. Nationally, asking prices rose by 9.5% over the past year. However, economist at Trinity College Dublin and author of the DAFF report, Ronan Lyons, says a mixture of increased supply and higher interest rates could cause house price inflation to ease.
3 months ago, when you conduct a survey and ask people what they expected the increase to be, the average increase over the next 12 months was just over 5%. Now it's less than 1%. That's the lowest in a few years. So it does suggest that on the supply side, conditions are improving, and on the demand side, for a variety of reasons, including increased interest rates, it does look like the demand is softening a bit. So perhaps we'll see the inflation rate in house prices falling in the second half of the year.
Police say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing teenager who is believed to be in the Castlederg area. 14-year-old Ross Ray is described as having dark hair, is approximately 173 centimetres tall, of a slim build, and is reportedly wearing black trousers, a black hoodie and white trainers. Police are appealing to anyone who has any information about Ross's whereabouts to contact them on 101. And for weather, scattered showers will continue this morning with highest temperatures today of 14 to 16 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The strawberries and cream frappe and Belgian milk chocolate frappe have arrived at McDonald's. Enjoy the taste of summer with the McCafe iced range. Strawberries and cream until the 26th of July. Contains strawberry flavouring only. Belgian milk chocolate until the 6th of September. Not available on delivery. Participating restaurants only. Subject to availability.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 this Monday, the 27th of June. How are you keeping? It's the start of another week. Hopefully you had a great weekend. It was a busy weekend for sport, wasn't it? If you're into your GEA, plenty of footballing action. What do you think of what went on? We want your views. 086 60 25,000. There's a couple of things, obviously. Games being decided via penalties. What do you think? It was a very exciting game, that particular one. But there was a couple of less exciting games on Saturday. You get that with the quarterfinals, though, don't you, sometimes with the current setup? But yesterday, the football was pretty good. And, of course, then there was the controversy at the end of full time in that game as well. We've seen that in the past between Armagh and Galway, of course. We've seen that in the past, but there was one particular incident that was, I think it kind of was an incident that goes beyond the football pitch. There were Gardaí standing around. I'm not saying they should have got involved, but anyway, it's not what we want to see, is it? We'll be chatting about that and so much more besides later. Also, we're going to be doing a bit of a Q&A on Bitcoin. Are you one of those people that have heard about Bitcoin and wonder what it's all about? We're not there to sort of necessarily encourage you to invest any money you might have into Bitcoin, but there's no harm understanding what it's all about. You'll see if you have a Revolut card, there's Bitcoin options, and you hear it talking about Bitcoin all the time out there. So we're going to have an expert on to find out what it's all about, how it's made, how it's worth anything, how it raises value or loses value, and all that type of stuff. We're going to get an expert on that. Also, MABS, an expert from MABS will be joining us as well. I know an awful lot of people have already cut everything. There's not much left to cut, but MABS will be joining us with some advice as to how we can make what money we have go as far as we possibly can. So that's all coming up in the programme, and much more besides. Get involved with early questions or comments. 07491 25,000. Caroline and Donna Maria taking your calls there. But your WhatsApp and text option, that's there for you as always. 086 60 25,000. So any questions on Bitcoin, maybe you've got some questions to MABS, or you want to comment on the football yesterday and Saturday, or anything else that's come up for you over the weekend. You can always watch the programme as well. Go to our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see the links there to click in, watch in browser, or go direct to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or our Facebook pages. Wherever you are, however you engage with us, hopefully you're with us now for the next 3 hours. Let's look at the Derry People Donegal news. They speculate over a political shake-up on the cards in Donegal. Latest census figures could spell political change in Donegal. Dull numbers look set for a shake-up in the wake of the release of the latest preliminary figures from the Central Statistics Office. With an excess of 5.1 million people living in the state, there will have to be at least 171 TDs in the next Dáil to comply with constitutional requirements to have at least one deputy for every 30,000 people. But why? Why should more jobs for TDs be created? It doesn't. It's there constitutionally, but we can change the constitution at a whim. Do you believe that we need more TDs? And it's not a loaded question, by the way. Many of you out there believe that we need more political representation. But, you know, we have a constitutional requirement to have one TD for every 30,000 people. And if the population increases, well, we better create those jobs. We better find the people and we better fill those jobs and pay them very, very well. Is there a constitutional requirement for a nurse per amount of people in this country? Is there a constitutional requirement for SNAs per certain amount of people, or carers, for example, or consultants, or whatever? Take your pick. No, there isn't, as far as I'm aware. And if there is, we certainly don't live up to it. So maybe before we start creating more jobs for those in the Dáil and having to spend a fortune creating more seats for them, maybe we should get our priorities right in other areas. That's just one scenario. What do you think? 08660 25,000. Well, in a detailed breakdown of what the changes could mean nationally and locally, the Irish Times details how redrawing constitutional boundaries, how it has the potential to be highly controversial. A redraw can make or break the election hopes of candidates who can suddenly find they'll gain a chunk of votes from a supportive community or just as easily lose them. This is Quinn in his analysis. But listen, the biggest controversial redrawing of all was to annex South Donegal and stick it in with Sligo North Leitrim. I mean, that was crazy. So if anything could come of it, it would be great to see Donegal united as either a 1 or 2 constituency county again. It's nonsense. I think that some of us in the south of the county are represented by people in South County Sligo. I'm not saying they don't do a good job, but it doesn't make a great deal of sense. Other counties maybe are more used to it than we might be. But I think we've enough TDs in this county to cover a full county, if you know what I mean. I don't think we need an extra one, do we? But what do you think? 08660 25,000. The Derry News this morning. Derry's district judge has described a man who used rough sex as a means of defence for assaulting a woman as a disgrace to his gender and an embarrassment to us all. You can read more on the front and inside that paper today. Let's go to the Nationals now. And the Irish Times tells us that demonstrations continued in several US cities over the weekend in response to a Supreme Court ruling eliminating the constitutional right to abortion after almost 50 years. And we'll be speaking about this a little later on in the programme. The vast majority of the protests were peaceful, although there were isolated incidents of disorder. A fire at a Christian pregnancy centre in Colorado was being investigated as arson by authorities. A message left on the building read, "If abortions aren't safe, neither are you." And I was listening to a quote from one politician who said, and this is not a commentary to the decision that's been made, but just how sometimes people say things that don't make a great deal of sense. She said that now, thankfully, because of this decision, a child in the womb can feel as safe as a child in the classroom, which I think, talking about the area she's from, was not a fantastic analogy, unfortunately. Well, police in Arizona used tear gas to disperse a group of abortion rights supporters who Republicans maintained were seeking to break into the state Senate building on Friday. In Rhode Island, a Democratic state Senate candidate was punched in the face by her Republican opponent, an off-duty police officer, during an abortion rights rally in Providence. He has since dropped out of the election contest, and there was more arrests. And I don't know, that's going to create a lot of upset and unrest, I think, in the United States over the next while. The Irish Independent tells us that the Green Party is calling for a minimum €10 increase in the weekly state pension and in social welfare payments in October's budget. So that's going to be the starting point. That's the upper limit there. €10 per week for your pension or your social welfare payments. I imagine they're flying this kite early on. And, maybe it'll be 8 or 6 or 7 or 5, I don't know. Is €10 enough, do you think? 08660 25,000. Well, an injection of 200 million into the working family payments, as well as increases in the qualified child payment, will also be sought in a bid to lift almost 40,000 people out of poverty. In a sign of simmering government tensions ahead of the start of budget talks in the coming weeks, Junior Rural Affairs Minister Joe O'Brien of the Green Party told the Irish Independent he will be cautious about Fine Gael's proposals to cut taxes for middle-income earners. He said he did not see how the proposed new tax rate of 30% for those on middle incomes could be beneficial. Mr O'Brien said he would lobby for a record allocation for welfare in an anti-poverty budget. Pensions, along with other social welfare payments, should also see double-digit increases, he said. We need to be going way beyond €5, stated Mr O'Brien. We need to be on double figures in terms of across-the-board increases. His comments are the first clear indication of what the Greens will be looking for. And obviously the cost of living is going to continue to dominate papers. The Irish Daily Mail this morning. Parents face a summer of dread as they struggle to deal with primary and secondary school charges of up to €1,500, it's been warned. Now, I have to choose my words carefully here because I don't necessarily want to upset anyone, but I cannot believe in 2022, and particularly in a cost of living crisis, that we have a situation whereby parents are being forced to go to one or two shops to buy branded clothing, i.e., particular jumpers, particular hoodies, particular trousers, particular shoes. Now, obviously, trousers and shoes, you might be able to get away with that, but PE gear that has the school crest on, jumpers that have the school crest on. I know some schools have made great inroads on this, but I've been speaking about this on programs like this for at least 15 years now at this stage, and still there are some schools that are burdening parents with bills of €200-300 for items coming from a specific shop, right, when surely we should be able to source our own uniforms right across the board and sew on crests or iron on crests. Would that not make sense in the current crisis that we're in? Now, as I say, I'm consciously aware I don't know how many schools allow you to buy your own stuff and iron on or sew on a crest versus how many insist that you go to the one outlet. But needless to say, I think at this time, things like this right at the start of the summer are the type of thing that we need to be working on. It's feared some families will be forced into debt as they juggle the expense of new books and uniforms with the cost of living crisis. There is recognition among cabinet members that the budget must help the squeezed middle. However, many are demanding immediate action with families pushed to the limit by record inflation. What do you think on that? 086 60 25,000. Also, too, a picture of Diana Ross on the front of the Irish Daily Mail. It's not very polite to mention someone's age, but in this context, the lady is amazing. She's 78 years of age, and I watched quite a bit of her performance at Glastonbury yesterday. Thought she was absolutely wonderful. Others not so much, I think, but I thought she was great, particularly towards the end. Paul McCartney did a 3-hour set on Saturday, and I'd say half the country fell asleep, and then half his age watched him. It was late, but it wasn't because it was no good. It was because of it's more of a testament to his energy levels. I thought he was superb as well. It's amazing the whole weekend. I watched quite a bit of it, was good, but they stood out for me, particularly good. All right, anyway, that's just a picture that's on the front of that paper. The Irish Daily Star today, let's pick out a sports paper to talk about the brawl Ireland. Mars, Tiernan Kelly may be in trouble following what appeared to be an eye-gouging incident during yesterday's All-Ireland quarter-final defeat to Galway. The tie descended into chaos when a melee broke out after the side finished level in normal time. Galway captain Sean Kelly was shown a straight red card for his part in the dust-up, ruling him out of their All-Ireland semi-final against Derry on July 9th. But I didn't see him doing anything. He looked to me like he was trying to... he looked like he was trying to calm things down. I think maybe was that just a token sending off. If he misses the semi-final, I think that's pretty unfair. Mars Aidan Nugent also saw red, but Tiernan's fingers appeared to make contact with Comer's eye in a separate incident that went unchecked at the time. Now he was in his training gear effectively. What would be an appropriate sanction for that though? Because obviously knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, you should never be on the pitch again. But what would be an appropriate? I don't think we don't want to overreact to everything, do we? I think an appropriate response rather than sort of like a knee-jerk response might be better. I think the GEA don't want to necessarily pander to public opinion on this one, just till everything calms down. Right, I had my opinion yesterday. I think when I watched it first, I thought that fella should never be on a pitch again. But, after a day's reflection, it was a very good game. I thought very exciting, huge disappointment for Armagh. It's terrible to see people's dreams ended on penalties like that when, of course, there is the option of a replay. But anyway, all of that, throwing it out there for you. My opinion doesn't matter. I'm just trying to get a conversation started. 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. What do you think, though? That's the most important thing. In the Irish Sun, more than €15,000 was spent rescheduling flights after Taoiseach Micheál Martin caught COVID-19 on his US trip. He also jetted to London ahead of St. Patrick's Day with $33,000 paid for both trips. Mr. Martin and his entourage flew across the Atlantic for an annual visit to the White House back in March. But after testing positive for COVID, the Fianna Fáil leader was forced to cancel his White House appearance and instead held a virtual meeting with US President Joe Biden at a cost of, to you, €33,000. Two wages, that, for a year for two individuals in this country. Finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror today, cops have said they have busted a plot to supply the alleged killer of Donegal woman Danielle McLaughlin with cocaine behind bars. Vikat Bhagat, 23, who denies rape and murder, is in custody awaiting trial in India's western state of Goa. Local police said they've arrested a neighbour of Bhagat's and a prison officer over an alleged smuggling plot. The jail guard was detained on Wednesday while a second person was held at the weekend. Deputy Superintendent Jivba Dalvi said the warden had confessed that the drugs were meant for Bhagat and had been given him by Bhagat's neighbour. Bhagat's murder trial has been repeatedly delayed since his arrest and charge over the killing British and Irish diplomats recently travelled to meet Goa officials and express their alarm at how the case is dragging out. And we heard, more importantly, from Danielle's mum too about the impact those delays are having on her. Rightio, that's a run through the papers today. 086 60 25,000. Remember, if you have any questions for MABS or if you have any questions on Bitcoin, and you know it's a bit of a juxtaposition, those two issues, I understand that, but 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Your comments too on the GE action off the field and on the field as well. We'll be speaking about that to Brendan Devaney as well a little later on in the programme, though, as you can imagine.
We understand. You have to move your bank, and taking that first step can be daunting. But when you choose to move to permanent TSB, you're not just choosing an award-winning current account. You're taking the first step to easier, everyday banking. Apply for our digital current account in-app today. It takes just minutes. After that, everything else will be that little bit less daunting. Don't just move. Choose permanent TSB. Application in your sole name for over 18 personal customers and residents of the Republic of Ireland only. Qualifying criteria, terms and conditions apply. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Donegal County Council, in association with Bryson Recycling, are holding a half-price bulky goods event at Carrendona, Milford and Stranora Recycling Centres from the 20th of June to the 2nd of July, during site opening times. For more information and opening times, visit donegalcoco.ie or call the council on 074 9153 900.
For big name menswear at great prices, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top casual brands including Mishmash, Sixth Sense, Tommy Bow and Penguin. If you're going to a wedding or a big event, formal wear names include Rimassimo, Andre and White Label. Also a great selection of children's casual and formal wear in stock. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
When did you last have your intruder alarm serviced? Intruder alarms should be serviced and maintained regularly in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines. Only private security authority licensed contractors can legally install and maintain intruder alarms. You are breaking the law if you used an unlicensed contractor and may also invalidate your insurance cover. Have a private security authority licensed contractor check your alarm and keep you secure. For more information, visit psa-gov.ie.
Okay, we welcome on to the programme now Bishop of Raphoe, Bishop Alan McGuckian. Good morning, Bishop. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you indeed.
And it's unfortunate that we're speaking to you under these circumstances, because there has been a genuine widespread sadness and upset across the county and beyond, I'm sure, following the death of well-known and well-loved local priest Father Brian Quinn.
Yes, we are all shocked and devastated. 2 weeks ago, yesterday, many of us, it was the last time we saw Brian. It was a fabulous occasion when he celebrated 40 years as a priest, which he had been so looking forward to and planning for weeks and months. And it was a beautiful occasion, but that was the day that at least it began to be obvious that he was not feeling well, and he went down from there. But
so in a way, on reflection, that's a blessing, isn't it, Bishop, that everyone had the opportunity to come together and celebrate that wonderful milestone?
It really was, and it brought together so many things. Like Brian, he really loved being a priest, and he wanted to celebrate that, and he wanted it to be just a beautiful liturgical celebration, which was another thing he really loved. And he loved people, and there were lots of people gathered around that day. His parishioners, whom he loved so much, his family, and friends from all kinds of backgrounds that just were part of that big world of people who were Brian's friends. They were all there. So it was a wonderful providence that's the last memory for so many of us.
From Lahey, of course, a beautiful part of South Donegal, but I would say that. He was the parish priest of the Church of the Irish Martyrs in Letterkenny. Tell me a little bit more about what people loved about him, why he was so held in such high regard, Bishop, even from a personal perspective, because your family, we're all family, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But your family have lost one of theirs as well.
We certainly have.
Yeah.
Now, the thing you had to love about Brian was he was so kind. When I first came here 5 years ago, Brian was one of the very first to reach out, and he was a man of ingenuity. He found ways of involving you. I don't know if you remember 5 years ago when I came here, there was the flooding had just taken place over in Inishowen. There was a fabulous big event down in the exercise centre down there near O'Donnell Park, where country singers were
the Aura Leisure Centre. Yes, I remember.
The Aura Leisure Centre, exactly.
Yes,
sorry.
Yes. No.
And Brian just saw this new bishop has to come down and be introduced to people, and he just had a way of knowing how to reach out, engage you, link you in with all kinds of people. Like Brian was a people person. He was kind, but he was, he knew how to create linkages and tie people, and that's why he was involved. And across the diocese, he will be remembered. He, like so many of our priests, he served a short time in Tory. He was in Kilcar, he was in Milford and Golan for a while, and then this 28 years in the Irish Martyrs. He was so proud of that, he and others remember sheep grazing on that field out there not too long ago, and now look at it, this fabulous centre of worship and of community. And Brian was so proud to be at the centre of that, and so proud and appreciative of the people of that parish who worked with him. So he had all that. He was a people person, and bringing people together and networking with them and bringing people into networks. And he was a great cook. On a few occasions, he invited me out for lunch in his house, and it was cordon bleu. He had so many skills.
Lovely, and leaves so many lovely memories and lovely stuff, which is lovely. If we could all do that, it'd be lovely.
And indeed it would. But with great sadness, we let him go too early.
Too early, only 64. Bishop, finally, do you want to say a few words for Father Quinn, but also, of course, other people going through loss the last few days?
Oh, indeed.
A short prayer or something, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, all life comes from God. It is a gift of God, and we give thanks for it. We give thanks for Brian. But also, there are other friends of mine who have lost close relatives in these last few days, and we just ask God to be close to them, heal their hearts and heal all of our hearts, but make us grateful for what we have had. Amen.
Oh, man, indeed. Listen, Bishop, thank you very much indeed for that. A lovely tribute to a great man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you very much indeed. That's Bishop Alan McGuckie in there, who he and other members of the clergy have lost a colleague and friend, as well as the personal loss for the family and those who know or knew Father Quinn. So we appreciate the Bishop coming on to share his words with us. Right, moving on. We are going to take a short break. We'll be back after that with our next guest. In fact, we'll be discussing a huge political, social change in America and its implications and ramifications, not just for America perhaps, but for beyond. We'll be back to discuss that after these messages.
It's massive savings on garden furniture now in Home Store and More. You can save hundreds of euro on a great range of garden furniture, dining sets, rat and corner lounge sets, egg and hanging chairs, gazebos, and much more. See for yourself. It's massive savings on garden furniture now in your local Home Store and More, or online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. As you may know, I have now opened on the main street in Letterkenny, right beside the Bank of Ireland. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Donegal County Council would also like to remind landowners and members of the public that under the Wildlife Acts 1976 and 2000, it's an offence to cut, grub, burn or otherwise destroy any vegetation growing on any land not then cultivated between the 1st day of March and the 31st day of August in any year. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Right, now, the US Supreme Court has ended the right to abortion in a seismic ruling that shreds half a century of constitutional protections on one of the most divisive and bitterly fought issues in American political life. The Conservative-dominated court overturned the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that recognised a woman's constitutional right to an abortion and legalised it nationwide. Larry Donnelly is a law lecturer at NUI Galway and political columnist with the journal.ie. He joins us now. Larry, thanks for your time this morning and good morning to you.
Great to be with you, Greg.
Right, okay. I mean, this is huge. There's just no other way to describe it, is there? Well, there are many other ways, but that's one way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very big decision. Roe versus Wade was obviously a defining element of the American political and legal culture for decades. So this is a big change. However, it's not one that's unexpected. The court is quite conservative. They have a particular view of the American Constitution, and in particular, they don't believe that abortion is a constitutional right. Whether or not it's a legal right now will be decided by various states around the United States.
And that decision has been made quite quickly. Some states, had trigger laws in anticipation of this decision. Others perhaps might take some time.
Well, the different states have taken different approaches. As you indicate, some states had trigger laws which would ban abortion immediately once the decision was issued. Other states, however, have very liberal abortion laws that were enacted and will go into effect as soon once the decision has been made. So what you're going to have in the United States really is a patchwork quilt of legal regimes around the country with respect to accessing abortion, and women who want to have abortions will be able to get them, but they will be a lot harder for them in certain states than it would have been beforehand. It depends on how you read the United States Constitution. The judges who look at the Constitution and say, we don't see anything about abortion. We don't think that abortion is a constitutional issue. Instead, it's a matter for elected politicians to decide. And the ironic thing here, Greg, is that, this has turned out in a way beneficial to the anti-abortion cause in the United States. But if you look at the arguments that the anti-abortion side has been making in the United States, they're exactly the same, and this is a strange point, as the arguments that were made here by the pro-choice side. That is, that abortion should not be a judicial or constitutional issue. Instead, it should be something decided by the people through their elected representatives, and that's how the law is going to be made now on abortion in the U.S.
How much of this is a legacy of Donald Trump, for good or bad, depending on your views for right or wrong, in his influence in the makeup of the court?
This has been delivered to the anti-abortion movement by Donald Trump. The reality is, for many years, there were Republican appointees on the Supreme Court who, when it came right down to it, were very uncomfortable with overturning Roe versus Wade. However, when Donald Trump decided to run for president, and a lot of people wonder how these evangelical Christians could rally around a guy like Donald Trump, multiple times divorced, God knows how many abortions he might have been involved in over the years. Why would they support him? The reason is because when he started his campaign, he went to the evangelicals and said, look, I will give you exactly the judges that you want. And he carried through on his promise in this regard. And as a result, we are where we are. And he had judges who were willing to overturn Roe versus Wade. And it should be said to disregard the principle of stare decisis, that is, that the law precedent should not be overturned except in the rarest of rare circumstances.
I mean, what I find amazing is that a court decision has dictated, how people can live their lives for so long. Is there no tools within government or the law or whatever that could have looked at that decision and, refined it or protected it so that one court ruling being thrown out couldn't have such an impact? Pardon the clumsiness of the question, but...
No, and I'll be direct in my answer. No, and I mean the answer here is that as the court would say, and I do have some sympathy with this line of argument. What the court is saying now. Again, I think this is probably undercut by what their personal views on abortion are. What the court is saying here is we decline to express any view. We're not saying we're pro-life. We're not saying we're pro-choice. What we are saying is that this is not a constitutional issue. So the answer to your question is the legislatures around the country are perfectly entitled to make up their decisions as to whether abortion should be legal or not legal. And if you don't like the regime, if you're pro-choice and you live in an anti-abortion state, or if you're pro-life and you live in a very pro-choice state, your remedy is political activism. You go out and you vote for politicians, you raise money, you work for politicians who are going to be sympathetic to your view on abortion. That's what the court is saying. That's what the effect of this decision is. And again, I think the point is worth making. This is precisely the argument that the forces who wanted to repeal the Eighth Amendment, it's precisely the argument that they made, that this is an issue that should be in the political realm, not the judicial or constitutional realm.
I heard some commentary, Larry, that this could have knock-on effects, that we could see situations that permit interracial relationships or same-sex relationships being challenged. Is there anything to that?
I think that the fears on that regard are somewhat overstated. This has to do with, and I don't want to get into the extreme legalities of it, but this has to do with a doctrine called substantive due process in the United States. That is, the more liberal judges in the U.S. think that the guarantee of due process of law in the Constitution relates not just to procedural due process, but due process on a whole range of substantive issues. And as such, they have read certain rights into the Constitution that aren't expressly spelled out in them. And among those, as you say, are interracial marriage, same-sex marriage, birth control, and other things. Now, at least one judge on the court, Clarence Thomas, thinks that whole line of decisions should be revisited and overturned because, again, he doesn't believe there's such a thing as substantive due process, and he thinks that these issues are legal, not constitutional in nature. He was the only judge to make that point, and the majority opinion, Judge Alito makes clear. He says this decision only relates to abortion. So whether courts will go that far is an open question, but I don't think that there is any appetite, politically speaking, speaking, if these issues do go back to the political realm, you're not going to see a ban on same-sex marriage nationally. You're not going to see a birth control legalization overturned. That's not going to happen. But could these issues get returned to the political sphere? Yeah, that's a possibility.
And finally, Larry, I mean, more generally speaking, obviously, politically, it's quite tense in the United States at the moment. That feeds down onto the ground as well. Some might feel this is further, fuel on those flames. What do you think this means for the United States as sort of as a country and for its future, which is being decided, I suppose, as we speak?
Yeah, I mean, look, it'll add to the splintered nature of the United States. I think that in many ways that is sad. But in the immediate term, in terms of the midterm elections, my guess, and the polling so far indicates this, that most people aren't going to vote on issues like abortion or indeed on the gun issue, which the Supreme Court also issued a decision on this week. The Democrats are hopeful that this will galvanize some of their supporters. It might have some of that effect. But ultimately, in the midterms, people are going to vote on the price of gas, the price of groceries, inflation, those sorts of things are dominant. And regrettably, from a Democratic point of view, that means that it's unlikely to be a good election. But down the road, could abortion be a galvanizing effect? Could it help the Democratic Party? Perhaps. But it's going to be intensely political and, as you say, add to what is already a quite divided society.
And very finally, Larry, I believe we were speaking after this ruling was leaked in advance, and there was some speculation at that time that it was leaked for a reason. On reflection, who benefits from, who might have benefited most from this information being made public when it was ahead of these upcoming elections?
I think clearly that the Democrats were hopeful that they would benefit in the sense that it would galvanize their supporters around this issue. But I think, Greg, that the fact is that the people who are motivated to vote on this issue, they were already voting, and they're already voting for the Democratic Party. So in the end, will this have a huge impact? My guess is no, but we'll see how that unfolds as time goes on.
Larry, thank you very much indeed for your time. I appreciate it greatly. Okay, that was Larry Donnelly there, law lecturer at NUI Galway and political columnist with the journal.ie. Just as we were concluding our conversation with the Bishop on the sad passing at the weekend of Father Quinn, his funeral arrangements have been announced, and for those of you interested, I can bring them to you now. Funeral is on Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. in the Irish Martyrs. Remains reposing in the church from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. tonight, and from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. tomorrow. Rosary in the church at 9 p.m. each night. If you miss those, we will retain them here for you. Excuse me. Some of your comments coming in. Hopefully we're as busy as we always were. Maybe some people able to get a wee lie in now with the schools off, but so far so good. It's as busy as it always is. Travelling to Croke Park for a replay for fans is very expensive when diesel and petrol is so expensive. The GEA had no alternative but to go to penalties to finish the game. I don't think that was their motivation. And, let's face it, there are at least some of those games that could be located outside Croke Park to make it easier for fans to travel to. But it will save a lot of people a lot of money. But I wonder how many Armagh fans might have been ready to go to Croker again if they had the choice rather than for it to be decided on penalties. We'll never know. If you go on holidays, only medical card holders get basic healthcare cover. In the NHS, this is not the case. Everyone's covered. I had a look into the HSE budgets, and it is costing us approximately a third more to run it. We're doing something wrong. Okay, thank you. Our local schools, Sculmore Glenties and Secondary School, offer jumper swap, where parents take jumpers children have grown out of and swap for a jumper in a child size. Fantastic for parents. That is brilliant. And I love to hear things like that, because I'm telling you, I know there are people are having to come up with, 250 to 350 euro to kit out their young ones for the new year. It's a problem every year for some families. It's even more of a problem for more families this year. Greg, why do we need more TDs? As you have said, more nurses, doctors, carers for the population. And then you look at our friends across the water. There are currently 650 constituencies, each sending one MP to the House of Commons, corresponding to approximately one for every 92,000 people, or one for every 68,000 parliamentary electors. Well, listen, the TDs aren't ringing the passport office, are they? Or they aren't making an awful lot of inquiries. I presume that goes to their staff in the office. So if anything, if we have to do anything, let's give, cheap. It might be less expensive to provide certain areas with more TD staff. I don't know. Do we actually need more TDs arguing? That's what they do a lot of the time. Oil is down and the petrol and diesel is going up. It's crazy. It's time to put in the green. Unfortunately, our petrol prices at the pumps aren't that directly linked because a lot of it's supply and demand as well. It's the perennial problem, isn't it? Petrol prices, oil goes up. It goes up straight away, or at least it feels like that after the next delivery. Oil goes down, and we just don't seem to see those savings. It's frustrating. I worked in housing years ago during the boom, says this caller. Builders building more houses then skyrocketed the prices upwards. If it did it during the boom, it'll happen again. Okay, right, that's one view. Right, okay. We'll be back with more after this quick break.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
A massive summer footwear clearance sale is now on in McGarrigle Shoes Letterkenny. All sandals and other summer footwear must go, with up to 50% off. Don't miss out on great savings right now in McGarrigle Shoes, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Gutcha go glishy tú fui Gaelphobal Línra Letterkenny.
Gaelphobal Línra Letterkenny?
Sha to Línra Letterkenny mar Gaelphobal. If you want to promote more Irish in your business, learn Irish, join our book club, or to speak more Irish, young or old, Coplafocal na Umlan Lifa, there's a welcome for you in Línra Letterkenny. Find out more at gaelphobal.ie.
Crohi spas, don Gaelige.
Gaelphobal.
Gaelige le Gaele.
Okay, it's that time of the year where we do the scary jellyfish story. Dave Wall joins us now. Hi, Dave.
Morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us. You're Citizen Science Officer at the National Biodiversity Data Centre, and we're speaking in the context of the creature infamous for its painful sting washing up on a Donegal beach. It's the Portuguese man-of-war. It's a jellyfish-type organism discovered by lifeguards patrolling at Nairn. They reported the finding, and it was disposed of on site. Right, how rare is this, Dave? And talk to us a little bit about the Portuguese man of war. What is it?
Well, the Portuguese man of war looks like a jellyfish, but it's not a true jellyfish like our moon jellyfish or those kind of species. It's actually a creature called a siphonophore, which is a collection of specialized animals called zooids. So they all group together, they form this thing that to us looks like a jellyfish, and in essence it's a colony of animals living together, but doing much the same thing that jellyfish do. It floats around the ocean, feeding on small fish and plankton and things like that. It's unusual in that it has a big float on top of it. So it looks like a balloon. When you see it washed up on the shore, it looks like a deflated balloon, and people go, ooh, it's a balloon, and then they're tempted maybe to go over and poke it, and that's something you shouldn't do, because even for weeks after they're dead on the beach, they can still sting, and the sting packs a very nasty punch. It can leave welts on your hands and skin. It's rarely fatal. It's usually only fatal if you're allergic, if you suffer anaphylactic shock, but it can certainly give you a very nasty sting. So children, adults, and indeed pets should be kept away from them.
Yeah, pets, actually, that's an interesting one. Where is the sting located?
Well, basically, it's on the tentacles that dangle beneath. Now, in the water, they're an even more kind of intimidating prospect because these tentacles can stretch out for up to 50 meters behind the actual float. So it's something you don't want to get behind or anywhere close to in the water. On the beach, usually a lot of the tentacles will have washed off or broken off. But they're basically the little blue things that are dangling below the float. So definitely, in general, just don't touch.
How much of a choice does the likes of the Portuguese man of war have as to where it travels? Do you know what I mean? And how much is it at the whim of the sea?
Yeah, very little choice, really. That balloon is their means of propulsion. So they get blown with the ocean winds, really, is their main source of propulsion. So, I mean, for us, Portuguese man of war, prior to about 2016, we didn't used to get that many records of them. But certainly since 2016, we've been working with our colleagues in UCC who run a project called the Big Jellyfish Hunt that collects records. We generate a record upload sheet for them on our website on exploreyoursshore.ie. So people can record these Portuguese man of war and all jellyfish records there, and it gives us an idea of their distribution. And we've noticed since 2016, we're getting a lot of records. Mostly our records, though, run from northmost would be the Mayo Coast and then down around to Wexford. So we very rarely get records so far north of that.
What is their purpose? I don't want to upset any Portuguese men of war listening to us, but what good are they?
What good are they? Well, I mean, number one is they're a predator, so they predate and obviously by that means control a whole range of animals out in the plankton and the open ocean. But they're also a source of food. They're a source of food for species like marine turtles. We get leatherback turtles in our waters. And they would feed on Portuguese man of war, as would ocean sunfish, as some of your listeners may have come across in our waters as well. And a lot of these species now have another purpose in that they're telling us something about changes in our ocean. As I said, prior to about 2016, we didn't get huge numbers of records. But ever increasingly, we're seeing them now. We're seeing them between July and March, peaking in records in October and November. And we think that's probably related to changes in our ocean in terms of ocean warming and global warming, and perhaps changes in the nature of ocean currents and winds. So it's something we're keeping a keen eye on because it helps us understand what these changes are looking like and what impacts they have.
And there is the importance of us logging them. That's where the importance of us logging them comes in, because we become your eyes and ears.
Exactly. So the more records we get, the better picture we get of what these changes are. And what we're expecting really is more change as time goes on, because the oceans are only getting warmer. We're seeing new and interesting developments in terms of ocean currents. And for this year, we have this record from Donegal, but we've also had a record from further north in Port Rush. Now, occasionally we do get records way far north, up as far as the Shetlands, but this is quite unusual in terms of northern limits of records for the species.
Where they are more prevalent, we would know around here, you get days where there's just jellyfish everywhere. I don't think they shoal, but they just happen to be moved around in a pack. Where are you most likely to find Portuguese man of war? And would we see the amount of them similar to what we see with other types of jellyfish that we're more familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, essentially they're a tropical and subtropical species, so they've a global distribution right around the world in the tropics and subtropics. We're really at the northernmost limit, but as I say, it's becoming more and more regular now that we are seeing them. But for most jellyfish species, they'll have a peak month. So for, let's say, the moon jellyfish, they're the clear ones with the bright pink circles in them. They peak in June. We have other species that peak in July. So it's all related to their reproductive cycle, the availability of food, water temperature, things like that. So we tend to see quite a sharp peak in different species.
And do jellyfish mate with each other?
They do, yeah. I mean, they breed and they've got an interesting reproductive cycle. So they live in the plankton. In some species, they've a sessile or a basic stage where they're attached to things. So for the moon jelly, they've a they're one part of their life cycle. They look a bit like sea anemones. They stay stuck to the sides of rocks. And then they produce a second phase, which is the moon jelly you see at sea.
I have to be careful, obviously, with my language. Do they happen upon each other by accident, or I suppose deeper into the water they have more control over their movement, do they?
Well, again, it depends on the species. So for Portuguese man o' war, they drift with the ocean currents. We've other species similar to that, like the by-the-wind sailor. But some jellyfish can propel themselves and can do so reasonably well, although they're still largely at the whim of ocean currents. They can propel themselves, but they do go up and down in the water column. But overall, they're greatly affected by ocean currents. For Portuguese man of war, though, they're stuck at the surface. So they'll float around. They can't go down in the water column.
Dave, tell us where we log our sightings.
So you can log the sightings. We work with our colleagues in UCC for the big jellyfish hunt. If you go to exploreyourshore.ie and you click on the big jellyfish hunt, you can log all your jellyfish records there, and indeed Portuguese man of war. So anything that looks like a jellyfish, we can take records there.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Dave Wall, Citizen Science Officer at the National Biodiversity Data Centre. Councillor Martin Riley joins us now. Good morning, Martin. How are you keeping?
Not too bad, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. Right, so this Thursday you're proposing Lisa McGee, the creator of Derry Girls, for the freedom of the city of Derry and Strabane. One of the handiest decisions to make, I'd imagine.
Well, I hope so. I think that everybody, not just in the council, but right across the Northwest and beyond, I think understands the contribution that Lisa's work has made to improving the civic pride of our council area, but also just bringing so much joy to the people who live here and people all around the world who claim heritage from this part of the world. So, yeah, I think it'll be a fitting honour to bestow on her, which is the highest honour the council can give, is to award somebody the freedom of the city.
And what an amazing writer to write about what she wrote about, but do it in such a way that is so broadly welcomed. I mean, I think that's the real achievement here, or one of them.
Absolutely. You know, for her to have reimagined her own growing up in the area and going to school and sharing those experiences in a way that has captivated audiences is truly remarkable. And I think the final series, for those that may not have watched it, I won't spoil it, but the final series is so well written and so well delivered in terms of telling people about what life was like here in the build up to the peace process and the day-to-day realities for people who lived here. So she's reintroduced her own experiences and informed a whole new generation about what it was like to be part of society at that time.
Okay, we know this has been huge across Britain and across Ireland, but now it's picked up by Netflix, which means it reaches a global audience. Is it a good advertisement for Derry and Northern Ireland, or will tourists come because they want to visit the familiar sites? Like, is it a good image for your part of the world globally, do you think?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I was in the city on Friday when the announcement was made that we were going to propose her for the freedom of the city, and I bumped into some tourists over at the mural in the city centre, and people there were telling me that they had come specifically to the city because of Derry Girls. The couple I was chatting to had travelled around Ireland on a camper van, but wanted to come to Derry because of Lisa's work, because they had seen it on Netflix. So it has drawn in people to come to this part of the world to be part of the show, to get to see all the sites that the Northwest have to offer. So I think it is really important that as well as the benefit to the citizens who live here in the terms of civic pride that Lisa's work has delivered, it's also acting as a tourism magnet, and that's a great boost to the local economy as well.
Now, if successful, I'm sure it will be, Lisa joins a very exclusive club running through former winners. All males, though. She would be the first female to receive such an honour, which is quite a surprise maybe for some.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a surprise for myself as well. You know, like we put Lisa's name forward for the honour, and as part of that process, I asked council officers just to provide me with a list of previous winners. And it would be the first woman, if she's awarded it on Thursday, who will receive it. So I think it's in 2022 as well. Overdue that we should award the honour to a female, but what better female, I suppose, than somebody who is synonymous with being a Derry girl. It's great that the first woman to receive the award will be Lisa McGee.
Do you expect there to be any opposition or controversy with this decision on Thursday, or with this proposal on Thursday?
I don't think so. I think that right across the political spectrum here, people understand the importance of the arts, and Lisa's contribution to that is not in doubt. I think as on top of that, as I said earlier, people are coming to the city to see all the areas and all the places where the series was filmed. I think that's very important as well as a consideration. So I don't think there's any controversy in relation to the awarding of the honour to Lisa McGee. I hope that on Thursday it will be unanimous, and then we can move to have the official council meeting where the honour is conferred on her, because the council process it can be quite slow at times, but we have the first meeting on Thursday, and if that goes through, then there will be a dedicated meeting to confer the Freedom of the City on her.
Lovely.
But I imagine it'll go through unanimously.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that, Councillor Martin Riley of the SDLP. I appreciate it greatly. 08660 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number. If you want to watch the programme, by the way, you can see most of our guests, or many of them at least, by going to our website, highlandradio.com. Watching us there, or go straight to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or on Facebook, Highland Radio, or Highland Radio News and Sport. Later on, we're going to be talking to MABS about what we can do to try and save money, to make our money go further. We'll be speaking about Bitcoin as well, giving you a bit of information on that. If you have any interest in it, you might be interested in that item. And Brendan Devaney will be joining us. We'll be talking about the weekend sport. A lot to talk about there as well. And you're texting in on that. Keep them coming. But first, we'll take a break for the news and obituary notices.
Due to continued expansion, Watson Hire in Letterkenny have a vacancy for a mechanic and plant fitter. Work will include maintenance and repair of plant hire, tools and equipment. Experience with diesel, petrol and electrical machinery will be important. A full driver's licence and basic computer knowledge is essential. This position is full-time and offers a competitive salary. To apply, send your CV to jobs@watsonhire.ie.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Pet Value have a brand new store at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. I called in at the weekend. The animals are incredible. Plus, they have so much on offer. They know a lot about what is best for your pets, from the smallest fish to the largest dog. Pet Value Buncrana. They care about your pets.
Hegarty's Auto Body Repairs in Letterkenny have been keeping cars on the road across the northwest for the past 50 years. Hegarty's are the only Ford-approved body shop in the northwest, but repair all makes and models. Paintless dent removal, windscreen replacement and restoration work. Hegarty's even mix their own paint. Approved by most insurance companies and certified Steel Standards Ireland. That's Hegarty's Auto Body, Letterkenny. For all vehicle repairs. See Hegartys.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. UK MPs are voting later on new laws to give ministers powers to override parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol. The UK government insists measures to allow the removal of checks on goods travelling from Great Britain to Northern Ireland are necessary. But the Irish government and EU says it should only be done in agreement with Brussels. Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis says the changes will uphold the Good Friday Agreement despite concerns from opposition parties.
We're very much fixing the problems within the protocol, particularly with the way that the EU have wanted to see it implemented. That has caused substantial problems for businesses in Great Britain not supplying Northern Ireland, and businesses and constituencies and communities in Northern Ireland not being able to access the products they need.
The allocation of replacement resources for Gardaí in West Donegal has been widely welcomed. It emerged last week that Fulcara was left without a patrol car as the vehicle had reached end of life, while the Dunfanaghy and Creeslaw areas were without a car for the last 8 months. It's now been confirmed that a patrol car and an additional Garda has been deployed to serve the Dunfanaghy and Creeslaw area, as well as a temporary patrol car allocated to Fulcara. Councillor Michael McClafferty says the news instills a sense of safety among locals again.
It's great for Garda Síochána locally going forward, for the 10 Garda involved going forward, that they actually have security now vehicles. For the Dunfanaghy and Creeslaw stations there, the patients that they must have had since last October having no vehicle at their disposal when they needed it. And you can only imagine the frustrations and upset that would have caused on many days, on situations. It's good for the people in the community going forward. At least now people have peace of mind.
House prices in Donegal continue to rise. The latest Staff.ie report shows that the average cost of a house in the county is now just under €200,000, up 19% from this time last year. The number of new home transactions in Donegal has also increased by 19% to 76. Nationally, asking prices rose by 9.5% over the past year. However, economist at Trinity College Dublin and author of the DAFT report, Ronan Lyons, says a mixture of increased supply and higher interest rates could cause house price inflation to ease.
3 months ago, when you conduct a survey and ask people what they expected the increase to be, the average increase over the next 12 months was just over 5%. Now it's less than 1%. That's the lowest in a few years. So it does suggest that on the supply side, conditions are improving, and on the demand side, for a variety of reasons, including increased interest rates, it does look like the demand is softening a bit. So perhaps we'll see the inflation rate in house prices falling in the second half of the year.
Police say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing teenager who is believed to be in the Castle Derrick area. 14-year-old Ross Ray is described as having dark hair, is approximately 173 centimetres tall, of a slim build, and is reportedly wearing black trousers, a black hoodie and white trainers. Police are appealing to anyone who has any information about Ross's whereabouts to contact them on 101. A Portuguese man-of-war Jellyfish has washed up on a Donegal beach. The discovery of the creature, known for its painful sting, was made at Nairn last Sunday. Dave Walsh, Citizen Science Officer at the National Biodiversity Data Centre, says the number of these jellyfish being found in Ireland has been on the rise.
They get blown with the ocean winds, really, is their main source of propulsion. So, I mean, for us, Portuguese man-of-war, prior to about 2016, we didn't used to get that many records of them. Notice since 2016, we're getting a lot of records. Mostly our records, though, run from northmost would be the Mayo Coast and then down around to Wexford. So we very rarely get records so far north of that.
And tributes have been paid to Father Brian Quinn. The well-known priest, who was parish priest of the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, passed away at the weekend, aged 64. A native of Lahey recently celebrated 40 years in the priesthood. Bishop of Raphoe, Alan McGuckian, on today's 9 till noon show, said Father Quinn's kindness was striking.
The thing you had to love about Brian was he was so kind. When I first came here 5 years ago, Brian was one of the very first to reach out. And he was a man of ingenuity. He found ways of involving you. Just had a way of knowing how to reach out, engage you, link you in with all kinds of people. He was a people person. He was kind.
Weather now, outbreaks of rain and drizzle this afternoon and evening. Highest temperatures today of 14 to 16 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice is for this Monday morning, June the 27th. The death has taken place of Kathleen Logan, Herblaria Mallinhead, remains reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 11:30, going to St Mary's Church, Lagmallan, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon. Burial afterwards in Mallan Presbyterian Church, Lag Burial Ground. House private from 11 p.m. until 10 a.m. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Michael Kelly, 27 Blackrock Drive, Ballybuffet, and formerly of Capri, Ballybuffet. His remains will be reposing at his family home this evening from 5 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral leaving his residence at 10:30 on Wednesday morning for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar, with interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. Family, neighbours and close friends welcome. Family time from 10 p.m. until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has occurred of Anna Mary May McGinty, Goland, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Stranorlar Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Peter Kelly, Walterstown Cove, County Cork, formerly of Garvan Cloughan. Requiem Mass in St Colman's Cathedral Cove this morning at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in St Colman's Cemetery. Peter's Requiem Mass will be live streamed on the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Monica McEnany, née Deasley, 100 Lisnafin Park, Strabane, and formerly of the Glebe Sia Mills. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 9:15 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. And the death has taken place of Michael Benedict Bradley Gorchin. His remains are reposing at his late residence, 27 Falla Road, Othna Merrigan, Gorchin, County Tyrone. Funeral from there this afternoon for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ruskey, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. No flowers, donations if desired, to Marie Curie Cancer Care. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And now, a modern masterpiece. The new Italian stack from McDonald's. 2 100% Irish beef burgers with mozzarella, crispy onions, lettuce, a rich tomato sauce, and a cheese sauce, all in a tomato and herb-style bun. And next in the collection, the crispy chicken Italiano with tomato, mozzarella, red onion, lettuce, and a basil pesto-style sauce. Bellissimo.
Holiday from home with the McDonald's summer menu. Available until the 26th of July. From 11 a.m, subject to availability.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Hello, Greg. My children's secondary school is also putting their PE gear as compulsory from September, so I have to pay €90 in total, as well as uniforms, books, etc. Scandalous, I feel. Thank you. It's just not the right time to be at that. Listen, again, I'll probably be upsetting some people in saying that, and I'm open to all views, obviously. It feels a bit personal to me because I know what it's like to try and get the money together, okay? So I have to be honest as well. I can't sit here and say something I don't believe. 08660 25,000. Greg, Finn Harps had a 2-2 draw with St Pat's on Friday night. They came from 2 down in injury time. Great point gained. I thought I'd mention it to you because all you talk about on your station is the GEA. Not everyone follows the GEA, Greg, so give other sports we mentioned. Thanks. Well, firstly, I don't work in sport, right? But I know for a fact, because I was listening, there was extensive coverage of the Finn Harps game and post-match reaction as well, as there always is. But listen, that's fine. You don't really think we're going to talk about a game on Monday night, on Friday. Personally, I watched the GEA at the weekend. You know, there was... well over 100,000 people drove down to Dublin to watch it. It is pretty significant, you know. But that doesn't mean that the Finn Harps game wasn't significant, and that's why it got the coverage it does and continues to do here. Maybe you don't listen to the radio on Friday nights or Saturdays. That's fine, though. It's no surprise America banned abortion at the rate they're shooting their school kids. They'll soon be none left. Their gun laws also need looked at. Good morning, Greg. In terms of the alleged eye gouging incident, and listen, do we know yet fully really if there was contact with the eye? We have to be careful, I suppose, to some extent. But this caller says, I think the perpetrator should get the maximum ban under current GEA rules. While I was completely disgusted with his actions, I don't agree with the very personal attack on this man on social media. I imagine and really hope that he is remorseful this morning. On the other hand, the Galway captain Sean Kelly should have had his red card rescinded immediately. Yeah, indeed. I didn't see the sense in that. These social media pylons, from wherever they come, and they come from every direction, I don't get that at all either. It's not something I'd want to be part of, something I would share. We can have an opinion, but organised and orchestrated pylons all over the place, particularly on that cesspit that's Twitter, it has become now. You literally cannot engage with people on Twitter. Not the ones that I'm not talking about that, but you say anything and it turns into some sort of a row or an insult. You can actually not express an opinion without someone making it personal. It's horrible. It's horrible. And people think that what's being discussed on Twitter is everything. It's the be-all and end-all, that if something's trending on Twitter, well, everyone must be talking about it, which is nonsense. It's not. It's useful, don't get me wrong, but the way it's got now and who's left on it, you can't, if you engage with them in the most polite manner, within 2 tweets you're being insulted. It's really quite remarkable a place, to be honest. Caller says that local people in her town cannot get planning permission, yet there are holiday homes being built all over the place. Young professional people are living and working abroad who can't come home because they feel there's nothing to come back home for, and they won't be granted planning permission for a house. Surely we should be encouraging our professionals to come home and use their skills here in Ireland. There is no future here for the younger generation, believes that caller. And more of you texting in. Last one before the bingo numbers. Great match yesterday, says this listener. Galway versus Armagh, riveting all the way through and spoiled by what commentators used to seemingly call a bit of argy-bargy, which seems to be an integral part of any GEA match. Not yesterday, though. It was a full-scale war. Was this war started by stupid supporters, as it is in soccer? No, it was the player themselves who wrestled, punched and gouged their shameful way around the world. Actually, it's only the lads having a wee difference of opinion. Not anymore. The commentators were almost speechless with rage and embarrassment. GEA bosses, it's time to implement some changes. If players are allowed to get away with what we saw yesterday, they'll continue to do it when they only get a slap on the wrist and a smiling reprimand. For the good of the game, swallow your pride and do what the rugby rules do. Stop the clock when play stops so that referee can't be assaulted for giving too much or little time, which can change a whole game. Let the clock take the blame. Anyway, those who play know better than me. My concerns are just the observations of a spectator. Our national game's reputation was not enhanced yesterday, sadly. Listen, we know the countdown clock. It's very successful in the ladies' game, I think. We know how it works, how to work it, whether it's good or bad, because it's tried and tested. That would be one option. Secondly, in the likes of Croke Park, there's zero need to send all those players down the one tunnel. There's alternatives. You could have them go down separate tunnels. Secondly, other than the gouging, was it not a wee bit of argy-bargy? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? 08660 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. All right, my views changing all the while. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today, and good luck and thank you for supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland. Back after these and the break.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 27th of June. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S6. It's game number 26. The numbers are 70, 8, 78, 40, 71, 19, 85, 63, 20, and finally 45. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com. Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Floor at Letterkenny has to offer? Floor at have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Floor at today on 087 161 7008.
Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information slot, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show in association with Sheridan Security Systems. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
If you've got magic moments or great memories captured on your smartphone, now is a great time to have them printed at mcgees.ie. Simply upload your favourite photos, choose your size and finish, and McGee's will take care of the rest, with the results delivered to your door. Prices are from just 12 cents, and there's also creative options available. Preserve your memories today at mcgees.ie.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,750 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we have a packed lineup. Joe Murray and the team from Sessions in the House will be joining us, along with Anthony McCullen, Earl Walsh, James Murphy, Pandy Walsh and Ted Ponsonby. So there'll be plenty of new music as well. That's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night at 8 p.m. right here on Highland Radio.
Now, the Money Advice and Budgeting Service is known more generally as MABS. Its manager for the North Connacht and Ulster region is Carl Cronin. He joins us now. Carl, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Good to see you again.
And you. In terms of interactions, contacts with MABS, are you seeing an upward trend?
We are indeed, Greg. Last month alone, our national helpline received 2,647 calls, and we've not seen figures like that since January 2012. So certainly there are more and more people contacting us. And that's quite heartening to see from our perspective, because people are reaching out for help and advice and support and finding out what we can do for them and coming to our offices to engage with our advisors to work through these problem debts that they're having.
Do you log, or can you sort of see any trends in a change of demographic from those that are contacting you now to perhaps who may have contacted you previously?
Well, MABS is for everybody, Greg. A lot of people would consider us for low-income families, but the reality is anybody can contact MABS for any reason, and you don't have to be in debt to contact MABS. There may just be a change in your financial circumstances or in the household, for example, an illness, a redundancy, maybe family separations. There are lots of factors that lead to financial hits to the household, and it's important to be aware that personal debt problems emerge as a result of things that happen to people, not by things that people set out to do intentionally. So it's those life events, those kind of force majeure that we talk about that hit on the household and cause problem debts. And that's when people come to us for advice.
I saw some of the advice MABS issued, and it was along the lines of if you've just cooked dinner in your oven, leave the oven door open, and that presumably the motivation being that will heat your kitchen. It doesn't waste that heat. When you are officially issuing that type of advice on social media and elsewhere, does it not mean that the country is in such a state that some people are almost, beyond help from the likes of yourself, that at this point it requires government intervention?
There is government intervention required, Greg, but on our social media platforms, we do have tips and tricks that help kind of bridge those gaps for families.
Yeah,
so
but that was pretty desperate, that one now.
Well, that is, we are seeing a rise in energy costs and utility costs right across the board, and they're jumping in percentages of 10 and 12 and 15%. And the high ticket items, the big energy items in our households are those that generate heat. For example, your tumble dryer, your oven, your electric shower. So if there's a secondary benefit to be gained from having the oven on, and we all know the kitchen is warmer when the oven is on, leave the door open, let that heat go to another use.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I get that. And I'm not critical of it, but it just sounds desperate to me. Do you know what I mean? That's where we're at. So, what kind of... Do you have some general advice for people before we get into some questions, Carl?
Yeah, sure. I suppose from the outset, Greg, I want people to know what we are and who we are and what we do. So MABS is the state-funded money advice and budgeting service, as you mentioned. It's a completely free service. There is no charge to anybody for coming to MABS. And what we do is we support people to achieve solutions for their personal debts and their problem debts. We act as third parties to engage between that person and their creditors to get those sustainable repayment arrangements back in place that they can realistically afford. If you're sick, you would go to the doctor. If if you have financial problems and worries and stresses as a result, come to us and let us alleviate that pressure. So a few general things that we do encourage in terms of whether it be mortgages, utility bills, phone providers, is always to shop around. There is always better value to be got out there. And if we look at mortgages as an example, because that typically is the highest expenditure that will go out from a household every month, mortgages or rent. You know, look at maybe fixing your rate at this stage. We do know that interest rates are going to increase. If you don't have mortgage arrears, you could well be better off fixing your rate at this stage and knowing exactly how much your mortgage is going to be every month going forward, and having that comfort from a budgeting perspective to know what it's going to cost you. And you can put that aside and not be concerned when you do hear about interest rate rises in the media going forward. The same goes for your electricity bills or whatever.
Can I just ask you a question? Sorry, I beg your pardon. Just ask you a question about the fixing, and I'm acutely aware, and as you are as well, there are people with homes affected by mica and other materials that the situation is even more complicated for them. Are you saying now is the time to fix your mortgage? Because it would offer price certainty, but for many people it might see their payments go up. And at this stage, we know of 2 increases from the ECB. We don't know what increases may be beyond that. So the advice from MABS officially is to fix your mortgage now.
It's important to look at what is available to you, what the options are. Look at the cost comparison, and that's where our helpline will come into effect. If you're concerned about, you know, what your current rate is, what a 0.5% or 0.25% interest rate increase will do to that, what is on the table in terms of fixing your rate at the moment. But by fixing the rate, that will give you peace of mind and comfort. It may not be in the best option of everybody, so it is important to look at the figures. And if you want some support on that, give our helpline a call or send a message to our WhatsApp number, and we'll be able to work through that with you.
If my life circumstances have changed and I either have begun to or will start to struggle with the likes of electricity bills, for example, a long-term €80 mobile phone contract that I've got another 18 months on, but you know my means are not there anymore, or the mortgage company, do you engage with these people first or come to MABS first?
Oh, well, we'll come to MABS at any stage. You know, if you don't have to be in debt to come to MABS, if you anticipate a shock to the household
finances. But in terms of, what MABS might be able to do to intervene, because you can become a middle person, can't you?
We can act as the third party, as the honest broker is what we are referred to in the credit industry, between the debtors, and they're the ones who have the mortgages or the utility bills, and the credit, that's the provider, be it the utility company or the bank or whoever it may be. So realistically, what we will do, Greg, is we will sit down and work through the household budget. We will look at all the money that's coming into the household, see is there room there for improvement. Maybe there are some entitlements that the family aren't accessing or the individual isn't accessing, maybe some benefits that they're entitled to claim. We will maximise the income for the household on one side. Then we will look at all the expenditure and see, okay, is the best value for money being got here? You know, once the food, the electricity, the heat, the medical costs, the housing, once all that's covered, they're the priorities. See where the discretionary money is going. Is there any room for savings there? And see what's left over at the end of every month. What can realistically go towards paying the loans, paying the creditors, paying the credit union, whoever it may be. And it may be a case of just re-engaging with them and getting alternative repayments in place.
And within that, is there a provision for someone's sanity? In other words, maybe they don't have access to TV unless they pay for it, or, you know, maybe it is to get out of the house, you know, once a month or whatever. I mean, when you are calculating all that, is that factored in as well, or do people contact you and you go, right, that you could do that, that? Like, is it more nuanced?
No, social inclusion plays a big factor in anyone's budget, and that is your television. You're going to, maybe you play bridge maybe once a week or whatever the case may be, whatever that is for you, because we all need to have that downtime, that recreational time. So social inclusion plays a big part in anyone's financial budget.
Let's get some questions. I recently got in trouble with my ability to pay my electricity bill. Can I come in for support for this? Can MABS help me get a coin-based payment machine in my house? I mean, there's a lot in there, but...
Yeah, well, absolutely come to MABS for to get a repayment arrangement negotiated in the first instance, and don't let the issue escalate where they're threatening disconnection. The coin-based electricity or pay-as-you-go meters, as they're referred to, they are not in circulation anymore. It's all credit. Just like buying mobile phone credit in a shop, you buy credit for your electricity pay-as-you-go meter, and then you punch in your code and it tops it up by 10 or 15 or 20 euro or whatever the amount is you've bought. The pay-as-you-go meters are a really good way of keeping up to date with your electricity on a week-to-week basis and not having that shock bill come in every 2 months on the doormat.
Yeah, but it's more expensive, and you put in that 10 or 15 euro and it starts whining very quickly. But I suppose for some people that's the only way they can keep the lights on if they're able to pay as you go. Can you give advice on which bank account to get? I find if I budget to the very penny, then the quarterly fees kick in and I'm behind again. I mean, I want your views on this, of course, but look, there are banks where there's no quarterly fees at all. Now, they are digital banks and people have to make decisions in relation to that, but you can avoid bank charges at the moment completely with certain types of bank accounts. But what's your view on it, Carl?
Yeah, banks and bank fee structures vary widely from bank to bank, but there are some very good cost comparison websites out there, bonkers.ie and the ccpc.ie. So you can look at your put in current accounts in there. It'll show you all the different current accounts available in Ireland at the moment and the fees they charge. So it's a really one-stop shop for looking at the different bank fees banks charge and picking which one suits your lifestyle the best.
I bought a car which was lifted by the hire purchase company. Now I'm financially in a better place. How do I clear my name as a bad debtor?
Well, you can check your status on the Consumer Credit Register, on the Central Credit Register, should I say. And if the car was lifted and they that has been cleared now, they can put in a note on the Central Credit Register to advise that, just like putting in a text message to say, well, car was repossessed, debt cleared now. So anybody going in to look at that, if they're going for a loan elsewhere, they'll be able to see that and see the rationale behind that being noted on the CCR.
Does it damage your credit rating in any way, accessing your credit rating?
Not at all. No, not at all.
Okay. I've been using Revolut as a way to help me manage my weekly spending. If I apply for a loan, will this go against me as my bank statements will be full of Revolut transactions rather than a more transparent view of what I spend my money on? Again, sorry but I mean, just get your statement from Revolut, presumably.
Just get a statement from Revolut. Yeah, you can get statements from Revolut, and the bank will ask for statements from Revolut, and they're quite easy to download and give them onto the bank. Yeah,
and it is actually far more detailed in your spending than a lot of traditional current accounts.
It is, and the beauty of Revolut and those digital banking platforms now is that you can actually save on those as well, put money aside, save your change, and save for special events. So there are really good options on those digital banking platforms for consumers.
And what that means, you can set it, you can have a vault. So if you buy something for $9.28, it will put, if you want, the 72 cent to round it up to a tenner into the vault, and there's other ways of doing it. And it is one of the outlets at the moment, which is a bank in Ireland that doesn't have the quarterly fees, as far as I'm aware.
That's right.
A caller says, I feel like the only thing is and what people are holding off on, it's still a Lithuanian IBAN, and that can be problematic for some people in terms of getting the money paid into it. But my understanding is Revolut and others are looking to get an Irish IBAN in situ this year. A caller says, I feel like I do everything I can to save, buying own brands, etc. And we know the statistics, the sales of own brands have gone through the roof. But this caller says, is there anything that is usually overlooked that we can save money on? I'm really at my wit's end now. So they're trying to cut it to the bone, and they feel they've cut it to the bone. But is there anything that may be missing there, Carl, without going through their finances with them?
Yeah, well, people are surprised when we go through bank statements with them at the amount of direct debits going out, small little incidentals every month, for example, for streaming services or maybe mobile phone bills, etc. And the question we ask then is, if we multiply that by 12 months, what did you pay that bill if it was an annual bill coming in once a year? So I'll take maybe music streaming as an example. You may be paying $12.99 or $15.99 a month for it. But if you factor that across the whole year, would you pay 140, 150 euro for that if that bill was coming in once a month? Are you getting enough use out of it?
Well, also too, with the likes of that, you can use Spotify for free if you endure ad breaks. So you can,
that's right.
If you're prepared to listen to ad breaks, you can save 150 plus per year.
That's right. So look at all those little subscriptions going out of your bank account every month and see which are the ones that I actually don't need or don't use enough of here. That's one thing that's regularly overlooked on. I remember myself meeting a client as well who used to automatically buy a cup of coffee on the way to work, picking up the paper, picking up the coffee, and admitted himself by the time he got to work, the coffee went down the sink because it was cold. The paper was unread at the end of the day. That was €25 a week, Monday to Friday, going out on those little incidentals. It was habitual more so than what he needed every day.
But Carl, this is what makes me feel it's inevitable that we're heading towards a recession because of that example you have just given, and I know it's meant very well. That is, if 10 people do that and they don't pull into the local coffee shop, that coffee shop is under pressure. It ends up closing, and the people who are employed there end up potentially on social welfare. And this is why I think it's important that the government have a role in this, because this is how it feels when we start reducing our discretionary spending or making those type of cuts. The ramifications then on business, it's a domino effect.
Sure, but I suppose in that instance, I was pointing out to that client that, he was not getting the best value for his money, and where he could save, that was nearly €100 a month, Greg, that he could allocate elsewhere towards an electricity bill, or maybe setting money aside for oil, for heating, whatever the case may be.
Understood. And I wasn't pulling you up. It's just what I fear of what's coming down the line, because I know it was very well intended. And also, too, I went through my direct debits. I was paying Amazon twice. Not for very long now, in fairness, but this is what flagged it up. I was paying, I think it was like $4.99 for mobile phone insurance per month on a phone that I hadn't used in 5 or 6 years. Now, so it wasn't huge savings, but the way I added it up, that was €250 at the end of the year in my pocket compared to just direct debits. I didn't know where it was going at all or what it was for. I just saw, I won't name the company, but it was a large insurance company, and I presumed it was house insurance, or I presumed it wasn't. It was a policy on a mobile phone from years ago that has long gone to meet its maker.
And just on the theme of mobile phones, Greg, we are very tempted when we're out of contract or with a mobile phone provider to renew a contract and get the latest phone model that goes along with that. But bear in mind, you are paying for that phone every month as part of that contract. If you have a perfectly functioning phone at the moment and you're out of contract, a SIM-only contract is all you need. And you can get that for as little as €10 or €12 a month, just to have a SIM in your phone if your phone handset is good and not causing you any problems.
Yep, and regular listeners would know as well, that's precisely what I did as well. It was it's a small outlay for a phone made in India, but I was able to save an absolute fortune over the course of a year. I'm struggling to pay off my college debt. I'm yet to find work in the field I've studied, although I do have a part-time job. Between the college debt, rent, and the cost of living rising, it's hard to see a future where I can get a loan for a car. Can I even apply for a loan when I have this one out? I think having a car will help my chances of getting a job in my field. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Okay, so that caller needs to get a good grip on their finances starting off and make sure they're not falling into arrears with their college debt or any other financial commitments they have at the moment. So that's where a budget comes into play. And, we are there to support people develop a realistic and sustainable budget. And if there isn't enough to meet the full contractual repayments every month on the college debt or whatever debts are being paid back, paying something is better off than paying nothing at all and letting arrears build up. And that's where we can negotiate those alternative repayment plans with the creditors on behalf of that caller.
Some specific questions. Is there any way to avoid, and they mention a particular bank, the Bank of Ireland, is there any way to avoid a €6 maintenance fee at the end of every month with Bank of Ireland? Now, I don't expect you to focus solely on Bank of Ireland, but these are the types of your quarterly charges, aren't they? Or
they are the charges. They are the charges we sign up to when we're taking out those agreements with the banks. But again, it's shopping around. The next bank won't have those maintenance charges more than likely. So bonkers.ie or the CCPC to look at the different charges, maintenance fees, etc. for those banks and pick the one that suits your lifestyle and switch. There are switcher teams in most of these banks who will help you switch your current account from one over to the other, and you will save in the long run, save on the fees.
Yeah. My son had a gambling addiction which has been addressed, but he now has a lot of debt issues. Can MABS help him get a loan from someone like the credit union to consolidate the debt, really, and pay it off at a lower interest rate that he can just keep paying one person to keep the debts under control? I mean, that was a big thing a lot of people were doing leading up to the last recession, getting one loan to group loads of loans. What's MABS' advice in relation to that?
Yes, and we can certainly offer support in that as well. So if you have some very high interest rate credit, for example, credit cards are typically the highest interest rate credit we would see most frequently in our offices, charging 23 and 25% on credit card balances. Those debts, small debts, could all be amalgamated into one manageable debt, which, for example, as your caller says, the credit union, at a much lower interest rate, and then paid off at a pace that suits the debtor. And the interest rate. The interest savings alone on that will make sure those debts are cleared much quicker than if you were to leave them with the various lenders.
And presumably, if he's currently paying all of the loans, a lender will look at that and go, well, if you can manage what you're paying now, if you're honest with them, like if you can manage what you're paying now, maybe we can help you out. They will consider that, I presume. But can you make an argument for it? I think really what they're saying. You know what I mean? Can you, as an honest broker, can you say, well, look, this person is doing this. We're pretty confident that we can't stand over their ability to pay this consolidated loan. Like, in other words, can you help or influence with a lender? Can MABS?
We can advocate with a lender on behalf of a client, but first of all, it's about getting a realistic and sustainable picture of their finances first, that we and the client can go to the lender and say, this is the current financial situation, and by consolidating the loans, this is where we're going to be going forward, and they'll be able to set savings aside for future credit down the line, for example, for a credit union or whoever it may be.
My son bought his car via CP. Is it PCP or it's PCP?
PCP, yes.
Yep. I was totally against this. This is coming from Mum or Dad. But now he's heading off to Australia and has to pay a lump sum off on the car. Is there any way out of a PCP agreement?
With that, we will need to look at the specific agreement there to see what it was, when it was taken out, how long is left in it. Is there an option just to return the car at the end of a period, which generally is built into a PCP? So without knowing the full details there, but I would say get in touch with our MABS helpline or get in touch with a local MABS office. They'll be able to go through the agreement with you and point out what the options are available for that particular caller. And
I presume you would encourage that person to sort it out, because the easiest thing in the world is to go to the other end of the world and sort of let it slide. But he might want to come back, or she may want to come back in a year, 2 or 3 years, and that debt will still be there, and they'll have to deal with the consequences of it. So they really need to get that in order before they head away, I presume.
Absolutely, the financial problems don't go abroad with the caller, so that needs to be sorted out, because more than likely they will be looking for credit at some stage when they do return, and they don't want to have a debt that may be long forgotten about hanging over them and impede that going forward.
Do you have much contact from people, or is it within your remit? And it's off the back of a text we have here for an older couple, and they don't have to be an older couple. You can have trust issues or interaction issues with technology, regardless of your age. But where their lending institution, especially now they're switching away from Ulster Bank, is trying to force them into sort of an online kind of a setup. You know what I mean? Maybe not having access to branch or whatever. I mean, is that what you hear a lot? What advice do you give people who say, look, everything's going digital, I'm not comfortable with it, I don't know how to do it, and it's going to seriously impact how I can look after my money and budget and track it and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, for a lot of people, there is no replacement for going into an actual bank branch and transacting face-to-face with a cashier across a desk. And thankfully, that option is still available in many branches around the country. We can't expect everybody to move digitally, no matter what age they are. And then we are seeing a trend where we have financial scams and text messages and whatnot becoming more and more sophisticated, which will make people naturally suspicious of online and digital banking. So, if they're more comfortable going into a branch and transacting with a current account and keeping off the online apps and whatnot, that's perfectly fine, and they can still do their day-to-day banking. The post office network offer banking facilities, and they really are stepping up to the mark now, where banks are closing in many towns and villages across the country.
If people contact you, how soon are they working with you? How well are you resource staff-wise? Like, is there delays, or are things moving quite quickly, or what's the situation?
Not at all. Thankfully, we are very well resourced around the country, and in this particular region, Greg. We can see us within a few days for a face-to-face appointment if needs be. A lot of people are opting for virtual engagement now because it seems to suit them better, so we can offer Zoom calls on a day and a time that suits anybody. Some people don't like calling for whatever reason, so we have a WhatsApp chat messenger service available. You can see the details there behind me, 086 035 3141. If you want to send a message by WhatsApp into our team of advisors advisors. And our helpline is available there Monday to Friday on 0818072000. Again, a team of fully trained advisors there to take your queries. But if it is quite a complex situation, they will refer you to the nearest office and we'll get you in and see you quite quickly.
And finally, is it fully confidential and non-judgmental?
It really is. Nobody will know you're coming to MABS unless you disclose it to them. But there shouldn't be any kind of stigma attached to coming to us. You know, it may just be budgeting advice. It may be there's a wedding in the family next year, or you've got First Communion next year and you want to put some money aside every month, but want to figure out realistically how much can I afford every month. You mentioned back to school costs at the top of your program, Greg. That's a big one for families now. But the back to school clothing and footwear allowance opened last week for applications. So again, we can support people with that application process if needs be. And if you're not entitled to that allowance, there is the additional needs payment scheme from the Department of Social Protection, another scheme we can support people with their applications with. So, you know, the message we want to get out there this morning is do reach out and contact us. Don't suffer in financial stress and anxiety alone. Get in touch with us either on our website, mabs.ie, or our helpline, and let us work with those financial worries, work you through them and get to a sustainable solution again.
And I just want to emphasise that point with you, if that's all right, Carl, because there are people listening to us who are rejecting the calls. The calls are coming and firstly it's a number, then it's unknown, and they're bricking it. You know what I mean? They hit the red button on their mobile phone and they're stressed, and then the letters are coming through the door and they're afraid to open them, or they're not opening them, and they'll say, right, stuff it, you know what, I'll worry about that next week, because they don't have the means to deal with it. And then, of course, the impact that can have on one's own mental health and the family and whatever. There is no need in this day and age for someone to suffer like that in silence. And I know exactly how all of that feels, by the way. I'm speaking from experience. Ring the likes of MABS. And instantly you could be on a path through. Is there any protection once I've engaged with you? Like, am I, when I'm doing all of I can, is there not, is it protection from, in other words, I'm trying to engage, I'm dealing with MABS, I'm facing up to the issues. That works in my favour, presumably, and if so, how so, other than trying to get to a solution?
Yeah, we would have a lot of protocols in place with the main lenders that work very, very well for the benefit of our clients. So, you know, in many cases, there is just no money at the end of the month to address these loans at the moment. And it may be a case of putting a loan repayment on hold for 6 or 12 months and reviewing at that stage. So there is an element of protection working with MABS. The client can opt to have, when we engage as third party and they authorize us to do so, the letters will come to us and the calls will come to us as opposed to the client to alleviate that pressure and stress from them. And then we bring them into the office and work through it step by step to get them back onto that financial path of freedom again. There is a very good HSE website that we would advise as well called stresscontrol.ie, which there's a lot of good courses and online tips and whatnot there for people going through these kind of anxious times because we're all experiencing them. You know, for example, last week I saw in our local shop a litre of milk went from 160 to 180 overnight. Certainly our incomes haven't gone up 12.5% to meet these cost increases. So we are all in this together, but do reach out to MABS and let us offer the advice and support. Let us take on the case with you and get to financial independence in the long run.
Carl, thank you very much indeed. You can contact MABS on 0818 07 2000, email helpline at mabs.ie or WhatsApp 086 035 3141, Carl.
That's it, Greg. And just before you go, can I mention two very quick things? This later in the year, MABS will be 30 years old. So we might be back on to you again to do something in that sense. And last week, our office in Letterkenny moved from Lower Main Street to Fort Lynn House. So people will see the new big MABS sign at the roundabout in Fort Lynn House. And we're up there on the first floor in a brand new spacious office there in Letterkenny.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. That is Carl there, Carl Cronin, manager of MABS, the money advice and budgeting services, North, Connacht and Ulster. So please, if you're one of those that is the head barrier and you're up to high dose stressing, just reach out to MABS and try and just let yourself drop your shoulders a little bit and get a bit of a life back.
The Lennon Festival Ramelton is back. Pre-festival events this week include on Wednesday 29th at 6 p.m. crab fishing at the Quay. At 7 there's a raft race, followed by a novelty kayak race with prizes galore. At 8 p.m. it's the RNLI display at the Quay. On Thursday 30th the singing pub is at the Purty House. For more information see Lennon Festival on Facebook.
Hi,
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. As you may know, I have now opened on the main street in Letterkenny, right beside the Bank of Ireland. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Tickets are now on sale for Century Complex VIP meal deal, which includes a 2-course meal and backstage, admission to selected movies in Century Cinema's VIP screens, a combo with popcorn, soft drink and a free refill, all for $33.95 per person. For further information and to get your tickets, visit centurycinemas.ie.
For me, it started with the specially selected Parma ham from Aldi. So silky, so melt in the mouth. You'll speak Italian after it. What about the specially selected sourdough cob? Irish, so you'll still sound Irish after eating that. And don't even get me started on the lime, basil and mandarin hand and body lotion. Shame you can't smell it over the radio. All this choice starts with Aldi. Every day amazing.
This is a notice for all tractor and agri-plant owners. Minimise your downtime when you need tyres and call Donegal Tyres Donegal Town. We can go to you and fit your tyres on site or repair your existing tyres if you have a puncture. Don't waste time and leave the hassle to us. So call Donegal Tyres now on 074 9721 482 to organise your call out.
Enjoy the summer fun at the historic Lifford Old Courthouse with activities for all ages. Try to escape from a real cell in Jailbreak, Donegal's only escape room activity, or experience life as a prisoner in an interactive guided tour with a difference. Lifford Old Courthouse. Find out more at liffordoldcourthouse.com.
Is your current car ready for change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town. Choose from their Skoda range including the Fabia, Scala, Superb, Karoq, Kodiaq, Kamiq, Octavia and the all-new electric Enyaq. Now available for delivery. All fitted with the latest technology, Skoda Connect, with a whole new range of simply clever features. DMG Motors have made buying a new car affordable with finance available on all new vehicles. Test drive the new Skoda today. Call 97213996. Skoda, made for Donegal.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. I'm interested, as I always am, but particularly in this next call, because I was at a beach recently and I saw a sign on a door saying there is a wheelchair access. There's a wheelchair that you can take onto the beach available, and there was a mobile number to ring, and I was wondering who answers it. Is it a local? Is it the council? Who answers that? So I'm interested to have this conversation with Ruth now, who seems to have come across something similar. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, Greg.
Good morning to you. Right, okay. So what was your recent experience, Ruth?
Well, my wee boy was to go on to a school trip to Rathmullen Beach, and I thought I would get the wheelchair organised for him for the beach. But both me and my husband contacted the number that we found online, and nobody answered. And nobody returned their calls, so unfortunately Jack didn't get any school trip because he couldn't go on the beach with his normal wheelchair.
Was it a landline or mobile number, Ruth?
A mobile number.
And did it ring even, or?
It rang and rang and rang, and I tried several times, my husband tried several times, but there was nobody answered.
Right, and then obviously you have to explain to your son then as to why he can't go on the school trip like everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so your question today is who is supposed to answer the phone, or who do you ring to get access to this wheelchair to get access to the beach?
Yeah, because we actually went to the beach yesterday. No, it wasn't a great day, but we thought we'd go for a run, and we went to the beach.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there, no sign up on the building to say what number to contact or nothing, and we asked a few businesses around the pier, and they didn't seem to know a lot about it either.
But it is, apparently, it's supposed to be available. It's just how do you get access to it?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And this is in the Rathmullen area. As I say, I'm not talking about Rathmullen. I just happened to see a sign on a door quite a bit away from the beach, I'm not going to lie, that said a beach accessible wheelchair was available. And I was curious as to who answers the phone or who organises it. But from your experience, you're none the wiser as it relates to the Rathmullen chair either.
No.
Right.
And like the lifeguard station was up yesterday, like surely even if they had access to the key or something. Would that not be a better idea? That because they're there most of the time.
Yep. Okay. Ruth, leave it with us. We'll get an answer for you. Okay. Thank you.
Lovely.
All right,
Thanks a
take
million.
care. No problem,
All right.
Ruth. Thanks for sharing that with us. As I say, we'll get an answer as best we can. A caller says a basic bank account has no fees. When I tried to open one, they made it difficult and said no appointments till September. I refused to be put off and I accepted the September appointment. Can you confirm with the MABS guy that a basic account has no fees? All I need my account for is direct debits, electricity, and to make a monthly payment to my landlord's account. Thanking you, Greg. I've never come across with a mainstream bank a basic account. In other words, what else are you on about? Maybe it doesn't need a card. Is that what you mean? Or you don't need to be able to spend out of it? I'm not sure. I've never come across a basic account like that, but I've never looked for one either. Our MABS guy is gone, so anyone out there can help. 086 60 25,000. I'm that far gone now that when I boil 2 eggs for breakfast, I then use the water I boiled them to shave. I do think a lot of shops and businesses are actually just using the cost of living crisis to raise their prices, even if it's just by a couple of cents per product, and they don't really need to. I would appeal to businesses not to raise their prices if they don't need to, or at least hold out for another while. Listen, I understand that when things are bad, we kind of trying to look around to see who's trying to take advantage of us, but I was running through some figures there of small businesses and just simply the one thing, and I think this is going to be the big one here that's going to put serious pressure on our economy. The cost of electricity alone, nothing else, just the electricity alone for small businesses has gone through the roof to the point whereby a lot of businesses that were relatively viable have got their recent electricity bill and are wondering if they're going to be able to operate going into future bills going from 1,200 to 5,000. Those type of increases. That is your local shop, presumably. That's your local, your local small store. All of those places, they don't. The commercial rate of electricity is actually much higher than the domestic rate. And any of you businesses out there, if you're affected by it, and you can back me up on this, but as I say, I was looking at some of the figures, and for small businesses particularly, and the reason I mentioned small and medium businesses is because they often don't have the sort of the latitude to be able to absorb some of this, but their electricity costs have gone through the roof, and no one wants to hear about it, but those are the ones then that have to put up prices, then it puts extra pressure on us, and so on and so forth. And we're reluctant to pay more, obviously we are, because our wages aren't going up for most of us, so where are we going to get the money to pay more? But if you can sort of back me up on that point, any small businesses out there, medium-sized businesses, whereby the cost of electricity is putting pressure on your actual viability. You may not want to speak publicly on it, and I understand that. If you do, that's fine as well. But get in contact with us to help make that point with me on 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Right, okay, more of your comments coming in on the weekend footballing action and everything around it. Right, okay, Sean O'Donoghue is CEO of Killybegs Fishermen's Organisation. The Killybegs Fishermen's Organisation has become a partner in a project which aims to construct a floating wind farm around 50 to 80 kilometres off the coast of Donegal. Good morning to you, Sean. Sorry, Sean, I beg your pardon. I had the wrong line in there. Good morning, Sean.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good morning. Good morning.
It's just one of those days. Come here.
I know.
Why would the KFO team up with Hexicon? What's the motivation here?
The motivation here, very much so, is that we saw what was happening in the east and the south coast and what was developing there. And we said we needed a new approach here. And that's what we have done here, is that we're not interested, and we made it clear over the last number of years, we were not interested in developers coming to us with lines drawn and maps and saying, have you an objection to this? We said, we're not interested in talking to anybody like that. We are interested in that we want to develop this, that we are the ones calling the shots here in terms of location and all of that, in terms of the fishing activity. And to be fair, we got a winning partner here in Hexicon that had the same objectives as us here. And I think, as we have said, as far as I'm aware, this new approach is the first in the world for the stakeholders, which would be the fishing and the environment and the the developer as well, we're not aware, and I'm certainly not aware of anything that's been done like this across the world.
So what is the nature of your relationship? Are you business partners?
No, we're not business partners as such. We have a memorandum of understanding with Hexicon, and that may ultimately lead to a partnership. But at the moment, the key thing for us is developing offshore wind, and in doing that, we had a number of principles that we wanted to get across here. The first of them was that we weren't interested in any developer coming to us, as I said, drawing lines and maps, and that's what Hexicon have agreed in this memorandum of understanding.
And has Hexicon paid the KFO?
No, absolutely not. No. Okay. Because we as far as we are concerned here, renewable energy is going to happen, and as far as we are concerned, we want to make this happen in a fashion that will not have a detrimental effect on fishing and the environment. Mm-hmm. And this new approach is doing this as such. Okay. It may very well lead, down the road, you asked me, it may very well lead to a partnership, but at this stage, it is all about doing this in the right fashion. Mm-hmm. So that. But
do you, if constructed, I'm just trying to get this clear, because people will be interested to know, if constructed, do the KFO get shares in this offshore wind farm? Is that part of this deal?
It may very well lead to that, but at the moment...
And what would that money be used for, Sean?
Oh, sorry. The whole idea here is that there's a huge community. Part of our MOU is that there's a huge community development here in terms of developing killibegs. Not alone killibegs, but this is of a community benefit to the rest of Donegal as well. So all the money would be going into the communities and the fishing and the port as well.
Okay, and I mean, this could happen reasonably quickly, couldn't it?
Well, hang on a minute. Just in case somebody thinks this is going to happen overnight, not. I think what we are envisaging is that if everything goes according to plan, you're talking somewhere in the region between 2027 and 30 before the first phase of this would happen.
That's the way things move in this country. That's what I mean by reasonably quickly. Sorry.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I wasn't expecting anything by November, Okay.
No.
Right, well, listen, I mean, that we have to break for the news now, but we'll tease that further down the line as things develop. It is to say it's unique. It's a one-off.
Yeah. And this will be of huge benefit to killibegs and to Donegal in general. It will be a game changer in terms of high-checked jobs, and in terms the part of our memorandum of understanding is developing an alternative energy hub in killibegs as well, such for hydrogen and ammonia, which could be used to fuel our fishing vessels going forwards as well.
Fascinating. We definitely need to talk more. Thanks, Sean. Have a great day.
Yes, okay.
Take care.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
News on the way after the break.
Wet and Wild. Wet and Wild is your one-stop shop to prepare for the holidays. Wet and Wild are fully stocked with sandals, swimwear, sunglasses, UV protection, midge and mosquito protection, tents, stoves, cool boxes, cool bags, sleeping bags, backpacks, child carriers, first aid kits, money wallets and waterproof phone covers. Keep you and your family safe on holiday this summer with a visit to Wet and Wild.
Driving a Fiat 500e is choosing an all-new, all-electric car with an impressive range and not to 80% fast charging in 30 minutes. It's choosing a car that's so full of tech it will confidently and safely drive you into the next decade. It's choosing to believe in a better tomorrow. Welcome back, future. Fiat 500e prices start at €24,995 after government subsidies. Book a test drive at Joseph Doherty Limited, Moville, or visit fiat.ie.
Newly engaged and searching for the perfect venue, the 4-star Courch Hotel Gweedore is gaining popularity as Donegal's leading wedding venue thanks to its reputation for excellent food, beautifully upgraded ballroom and idyllic location on the shore of River Clady with the majestic Errigal Mountain providing the perfect backdrop. Start planning your wild Atlantic wedding with a private viewing booking on 07495 32900 and discover our newest wedding packages. And Court Hotel Gudor, part of the Gallen Hospitality Group.
Does your Kia or Nissan need to be serviced? There's a host of benefits to servicing your car with iMotors. Our workshop has dedicated software and computers that are designed for your Kia and Nissan. Our technicians are trained to the manufacturer standards to make sure they understand your car. Call us today or visit our website to book in. We also offer servicing on all other branded vehicles.
All right, Brendan Devaney's going to be joining us very shortly. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin and so much more besides. Stay right where you are on the 9 till noon show this Monday morning. But at 9 o'clock, that was 2 hours ago, so let's fast forward to 11 o'clock and get a news update and say good morning, Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Tributes have been paid to Father Brian Quinn, the well-known priest who was parish priest of a Church of Irish Martyrs, Letterkenny, passed away at the weekend, aged 64. A native of Lahi, he recently celebrated 40 years in the priesthood. A replacement patrol car has finally been allocated to Dunfanaghy Garda Station. The Dunfanaghy and Creasle areas have been without a car for the last 8 months. It's now been confirmed that a patrol car and an additional Garda have been deployed to serve the Dunfanaghy and Creasle area, as well as a temporary patrol car allocated to Fulcara. The average house price in Donegal is now just under 200,000. The latest Daft.ie report shows house prices in the county have increased 19% compared to this time last year. Police say they are becoming increasingly concerned for a missing teenager who is believed to be in the Castlederg area. 14-year-old Ross Ray is described as having dark hair, approximately 173 centimetres tall, of a slim build, and was reportedly wearing black trousers, a black hoodie and white trainers. Police are appealing for anyone with information about Ross's whereabouts to contact them on 101. A Portuguese man of war, Jellyfish, has washed up on a Donegal beach. The discovery of the creature, known for its painful sting, was made at Nairn last Sunday. And finally, UK MPs are voting later on new laws to give ministers power to override parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol. The UK government insists measures to allow the removal of checks on goods travelling from Great Britain to Northern Ireland are necessary. That's all for now. We'll be back with news again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much indeed, Emma. I wonder is there a radio station in Portugal talking about something from Donegal washing up on the coast over there? I don't know, probably not. Maybe Portuguese men of war are not from Portuguese or man of war. Right, okay. A new survey has been released, and this is it's on the wider scale of things. It's not a big, maybe it's not a big thing, maybe it is. But I'm just curious as your comments, as your views on this, because apparently a third of people can't afford to accept a wedding invitation because the average cost now is €659. What do you think? Do you think this is... have you turned down a wedding invite because... It's not even just the travel and accommodation, because a lot of us could avoid that, but it's the amount maybe that's expected to be given in the card. Is it something that maybe you've had to think twice about? Some of your comments on Facebook so far, we posted this to see what they say. It only costs that if you want it to. If you can't afford that kind of money, you can do it a lot cheaper. Best to set yourself a budget and work from that. But I think some people might be at the point saying, we don't want to go down there and not have a certain amount of money or not put a certain amount in the card and be afraid that they could be judged by that and just make up an excuse. But this caller says, about right when everything's added up for some people. Another, it's not going to be so ridiculous for me in August because I will not make it. So I never paid that much for a card. So we asked also on Instagram, can you relate to that statement? And 73% of you could. 27% of you couldn't. The poll is running for another 24 hours, by the way, so it's not too late to have your say. So a third of people cannot afford to accept a wedding invitation because the average cost is €659. Do you relate to the above statement? Most of you do. 3/4 of you, in fact. Go on to Instagram, our Instagram page, if you want to have your say in relation to that.
And now, a modern masterpiece. The new Italian stack from McDonald's. 2 100% Irish beef burgers with mozzarella, crispy onions, lettuce, a rich tomato sauce, and a cheese sauce, all in a tomato and herb-style bun. And next in the collection, the crispy chicken Italiano with tomato, mozzarella, red onion, lettuce, and a basil pesto-style sauce. Bellissimo.
Holiday from home with the McDonald's summer menu. Available until the 26th of July. From 11 a.m, subject to availability.
Liam, you listened to Sean before the news there, were you?
Yes, I was, Sean. Or Greg, sorry.
Okay. What do you think of this tie-in between this energy company and the KFO? It's good to have the industry's input right from the get-go in terms of planning, and it's 80-odd kilometres off the coast. It's win-win, isn't it, Liam?
It's not, Greg.
Why not? What's your concerns?
Because they run power grids ashore for that, and you can't bottom trawl, you can't static fish with big pots within them areas. They run the power grids ashore. Actually, we had proposals sent us there for the northwest, out of northwest of Annister Hall, running out to the Stanton Bank, where the power grids were coming in across coming up east of Annister Hall, running into that Blue Flag Beach at Shrove. The other direction of it was taken, as proposals was taken into Lough Foyle. It's across our fishing grounds. It runs up, and you can't bottom trawl nor dredge or do any bottom engagement trawling or fishing of any kind within them areas.
But
it's
offshore,
an isolation zone.
Yeah, offshore.
They're traditional fishing grounds.
I get you, and you know far more than this than I do, of course. But offshore energy is going to happen. It's a thing. Is it not better that the fishing industry has involvement than not?
Well, what I see in the fishing at the moment, for young men coming into fishing, they're not coming into it. My son and I fish down, we're fishing at the moment. We had to leave Greencastle and leave the northwest coast to go to fish prawns in the Irish Sea. We have a large survey vessel engaged in ground surveys across the fishing grounds, right around across Clorhead, right up onto the Carlingford line, would be the British and Irish line there, to run out of Carlingford. It's all the wee indigenous fishermen and the coastal communities that's there. And this is what you call as multinationals coming in and ocean grabbing. And it's been widely, there's a world forum set up on this, that the multinationals come in and we're left on the shoreline. Yes, if you're young enough, you maybe could go and train and go on. That's it. They'll tell you to go away in these boats and that. But it's a heritage that we're giving up. Once you put them down on the ground, that's the fishing over in that area.
Yeah, I got you.
They own the ground. They're multinationals. They own the ground.
Right. Okay.
We give our oil rights away. We're giving our fishing rights away, and nobody's saying nothing about it. This has all been done, and there seems to be a big move on it there now, Greg. And we see it there down at night, and even through the night and all there. The last night I come up, I was going up from Clorhead up into Kilkeel. A large survey vessel was towing a cable behind it, so doing a sonar test on the bottom.
Yeah.
The inshore men, I don't think they're aware that they're going to lose their whole. They're going to be forced out of it.
Okay.
They've done this in England, and a lot of areas in England told them that they could get on board, get on these boats and all this. Yeah. It hasn't happened. They've done a survey in it. This is for multinationals and our government giving away our natural resources to One Energy, and will the prices be any different for ESB? Because when I was going to school 50 years ago or more, you took your sandal off coming on the door with heat. I don't know if it's global warming, but there's a big scaremongering tactic on about it. But it's at the peril of the coastal communities this is happening.
Okay. All right. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there, Liam. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future. Thanks for now. Right. Brendan, can you move over to your right just a wee bit? Good man. So I can hear you, because that Brendan Devaney is taking his seat. Hi, Brendan.
Yes, Greg, how are you?
Good. Right, obviously, we want to talk about the action on the pitch yesterday. And, we've got an Ulster team still in the race. But a lot of conversation about two things, really, from the weekend. I think, well, firstly, Saturday's games were a bit disappointing, but you get that with the system we have in quarterfinals. It's not unusual. We had two great games yesterday, or one particularly good game, but two good games yesterday. We shouldn't be surprised that there's a couple of dodgy quarterfinals in there. It does happen.
Yeah. I suppose a bit of a pity Roscommon were beat the last day. I just don't think Clare were going to be up to the match. I don't think, actually, Roscommon would have been able for Derry, but I think they might have given them a game. But Derry just looked phenomenal. This conditioning that people's talking about, when you get to Crow Park, the big pitch, people are wondering about Derry's ability there in terms of that tactic and how they play it, but their fitness is such that when they're breaking in that open space, physically they were just on another level, and some unbelievable performances, particularly from Rodgers and Glass, and of course up front Shane McGuigan. They were just Chrissy McCaig as well, I suppose, at the back, and they now look like, outside their goalkeeper, it's their one probably weak link going into the semi-final. They don't have a top class keeper, and Lynch seemed to struggle a bit the weekend, not so much with his kickouts, but just his general goalkeeping. I think he was, really got his angles badly messed up in that. And Galway are going to pose much a more dangerous threat going forward in goals term, but certainly set up for cracker. That game, in many ways, saved the championship. The game, the next game, obviously the Galway game saved the championship in quite a way, of course. But those games on Saturday, right, they were a bit, they never really caught fire. We never really expected them to. We were hoping Clare could be a bit plucky. The Dubs took a while to get going, much like Kerry yesterday. You didn't see the best of them, but it didn't really matter. There was never really in doubt, I don't think, the victories.
So, obviously it's inevitable that people are going to start, and they probably won't want to hear the conversation amongst the team and management of Derry, but people are going to say, is this going to be just an amazing story? Is this going to be that year that from nowhere, not literally, but Derry could actually cause a huge upset and win the All-Ireland? Is it anything's possible in sport, but you play what you have in front of you. They have to play better to win it. Can they win it?
Well, if you look at the stage last year, I suppose with Tyrone, we're going into a semi-final. I know it was straight knockout then, but we didn't give them much of a hope. I think, if anything, now Derry are probably in a better position because they've went down to Croke Park and played a phenomenal match, and they've obviously beaten the three big teams in Ulster, and they certainly look like they've all the ingredients. I say the one small thing is it would be their goalkeeper. If they had a top class goalkeeper, I'd be thinking, why not? Whether that is the thing goes back to haunt them, I hope it doesn't come down to something like that. But if you look at their ingredients in terms of man markers, height in the middle, fitness, forwards who can score, players who can score over the pitch, racking up 5 goals. So they certainly have all the ingredients to do it. They certainly look. If you look at your Kerrys and your Dublins yesterday and how they played, and I know they didn't play that well, you certainly from a Derry perspective wouldn't be fearing playing these sides. You would relish it now, which is an unbelievable story.
And being able to score is so important, and we saw it yesterday I think more so with Mayo, when you don't have that.
Yeah, that's it. And players over the pitch can do that, and I think that fitness and strength that we have, and I suppose the condition is number one. And if you look at it, the level that have gone to against Clare, and they were both Division 2 teams this year, you can see Derry just had that step up on the championship that Clare weren't at the races. To say it was a pity it wasn't Roscommon, because I think they would have stayed in the game. But I just think the way that Derry's playing now, listen, why not?
Yeah, it's up to them. Maybe
24 years since an Ulster, and now they're on the verge of an All-Ireland final. It's
hopefully
unreal.
There's some documentary team following them around with a camera, because it will make some show if they are.
Yes.
Especially if they can go on and do it. Before we talk about, the controversy surrounding the Armagh game, it was a fantastic game of football, wasn't it? I missed the last 3 or 4 minutes because I went to make breakfast for the baby, and I thought, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, then I came back, we're going to extra time. And was just coming towards the melee. But in terms of how that game was decided, firstly, it was a fantastic game. Went to extra time. Peculiar thing, it's like a new game for extra time. Then it went to penalties. Penalties more interesting now. I think that the ball's a bit closer to the goalkeeper. Is that a way to settle a season for one team or other?
Definitely not, Greg. It's because we obviously play. A lot of people play soccer in this country, and we look at it and we watch it. We kind of are easy enough going out. There obviously is a penalty in the game, but the only person that had a penalty in the game is your penalty kicker. He's the only person on the pitch which would be routinely striking a ball off the ground if he's practicing a bit. No one else did. Now I know the Galway lads was interviewed after, and they said their last couple of challenges they had practiced penalties, which was a very smart thing to do, particularly even in that game situation, because when you're up, because they played a lot of soccer as well, and you'd be hitting penalties, messing about hitting penalties is such a different thing to any kind of pressurised setting where it's on you. So even in a friendly, when 2 teams and everyone's watching and you have to do the walk up and all that, so that was smart of Pádraig Joyce to do that. And the Galway penalties were very clinical.
They were superb.
They were top class. It was as if Armagh hadn't thought about this till it came up, and you could see by the strike, particularly I suppose with Campbell's one, the other one was unlucky to hit the post. But listen, I don't think anybody faults any penalty takers in that, because it's such a lottery anyway. And in Gaelic then, because it's so alien to us, I mean, really, if you're going to decide a game, it should be kicks from the hands, from 40 yards out or something like that, because it's something that everybody's doing. And at least it's a skill that's in the game, and you're doing it every night at training, you're doing it in practice games, you're doing it while you're playing. At least that would be some way fair. But penalties, I don't. And listen, Greg, on about a replay, can you imagine this was replayed? This game alone would have sold out Croke Park. And my God, Croke Park needs that. I mean, you can't get sellouts anymore. It was phenomenal.
Is it fair, though, with the cost of living? Other people were mentioning earlier that, it'd be beyond an awful lot of people to get back up to Dublin. Some people would, though, as you say, would have been a sellout one way or other.
And listen, there's been a massive general interest too. And to be honest, Greg, the way football is at the minute, and we've talked about this quite a few times, there's a lot of poor games out there. We're kind of clinging on for games like this. Would I like to see this match played again? Definitely, who wouldn't I?
No.
And I think that it would have give a huge lift. I think both counties would have travelled, and a load of neutrals would as well.
What about a countdown clock in the men's game? Would you like to see that?
It would add a bit of excitement to it, yeah. That's something that's been talked about for a long time. The only problem is with the countdown clock is the ability of all the grounds to have the right, gear there to do that. That's the thing. Sometimes you look at Croke Park and hockey and things, I guess. It's a bit unfair. I think it's a good thing to be there because a lot of the bigger games have settled that, but you don't want to have too much technology that isn't everywhere. So it's something, I suppose, if all the grounds could commit to it. Yeah, I think it's a more interesting way of finishing the game.
And for crying out loud, use 2 tunnels.
Yeah,
Croke Park.
Only if our miles about, Greg.
I know, but there was some Tyrone fan commented yesterday that knowing their luck, they'll get 6 suspensions off the back of Tyrone will get 6 suspensions off the back of
Yeah. Well, listen, like the CCCC, after the suspensions were overturned against Donegal, which we couldn't believe. We didn't even try to overturn it. And so maybe that was what set this up. Maybe them boys were thinking, here, we can go again here, because after Tyrone was unreal what happened at Donegal, and I can't understand the mindset. Those guys almost put them out of one of the biggest championship games in their life, which was Donegal and Balvafey. And here we have it again. I mean, should they have beaten Armagh, or should they have beaten Galway in the extra time? There's the follow to this would have been a few players would be suspended.
Well, what's going on there? What's the mentality, or what's the discipline problems? I mean, everything you've mentioned there, all the effort I asked you a question about, is it fair that you should your championship should end on penalties? A lot of those guys, if they'd have got through, would have taken their opportunity to at least play in the semi-final out of their own hands.
Yeah, that's
so,
it.
If they're not getting it right.
I don't understand. There was a couple of people, if you looked at Donaghy at the start, and even Joyce were in trying to break it up, but it just spirals. Once people start grabbing and teammates come in, it's something we don't see that much of. But I mean, listen, there's no point in hiding away from it. Armagh were involved in 3, only 3 really this year. They were in the 3 of them. I mean, it's there.
It was a scuffle though, other than the hand to face contact, right?
Yeah.
And that has yet to be determined. Other than that, it was wrestling though. But that's not an acceptable part of the game, obviously.
Yeah, well, if you've seen, there was a bit of a melee with Galway and Mayo last year going down the tunnel, but at least down the tunnel, it's kind of like what's going on in there, kind of thing. Right. And I could kind of let it go. It's just the bad looking nature of it, as you said. A lot of it's wrestling. Like, I mean, there's no real harm in it. It just looks silly, grown men.
It looks silly, but I mean, other than that incident, and then maybe a punch that was thrown in response to that. Other than that, even when they were on the ground and had an opportunity to maybe to put a fist in or something, it didn't really happen. Okay, I'm not sort of saying it's okay, but what's an appropriate response to the hand to face? I don't know if eyes were poked, so I can't call it gouging, right? But I'm overly cautious on a program like this, right? I don't know what happened. Because the player who was the victim of it could quite say, "Oh no, he didn't. He just grabbed my nose." Okay, so I have to be careful in that regard. But what's the appropriate sanction for something like that? Not a knee-jerk reaction, a considered sanction.
Well, first of all, it has to be proved what he did. You would have to talk to the guy who grabbed that or whatever. And listen, that's up to powers to be to do that, Greg. But I think certainly the social media attack on this
people
guy,
saying that he should be banned for life, and there was an actual pile-on on him, if you know what I mean. The Twitter pile-on that we see.
Yeah, that's it. Funny, I just was talking to John Harron last night. He put up a tweet about a rugby guy who played for Ireland, who eye-gouged another Irish player early on in his career. He took his punishment. He's back and he does media. He's on the radio most days and that. So this thing of banning somebody for life for doing something stupid is ridiculous, particularly at this point when we don't know exactly what he did. Now, it was a nasty grab no matter what, and there's absolutely no place for that. But outside that, and he got a box for it, what it looks like, which was maybe his first punishment, which was maybe a start, Greg. But I don't think we should get, once we park that and figure out what happened there, Greg, the rest of it was just a bit unsavory.
I think what I'd like to see with something like that is, if it was deemed to be very, very serious, a reasonable suspension. But say, right, go into schools and talk about discipline or whatever. Do you know what I'm on about? Like, whereby he's asked to go, and he probably always goes into schools, something like that where it's useful. Do you know what I mean? Rather than this knee-jerk, because people say ban him for life, and if he was banned for life, you'd ask him in a quiz on Thursday who was banned for life last Monday, and they go, I can't remember the guy's name. Do you know what I mean? So
I think
I'm not defending it.
No, I agree. If you take the bit of hysteria out of it, that whatever your man did, I mean, the player that he hurt him, I mean, it's a nasty looking thing. Did he hurt the guy first, right? And he got a box for it. He's going to get a suspension. He's got a pile of social media attack, which is going to put the man under, which is dangerous, I think, for anybody in the GA. But see all the other stuff, Craig. I'm not that bothered about it, because at the end of the day,
the wrestling,
the players are going to get sanctioned. Who cares? Like, it used to be a thing at matches years ago. We used to love to see a wee bit of a barney because it was part of the game. I think the Goody Two Shoes Brigade are all over this now. You can't do this kids watching, blah blah blah. Give it a break.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people wishing those games were on Sky Sports. So
listen,
so you
I
can
know,
say
I
this,
know. But
in other words, say that's a proper sport. There's different views, but I just think we are just now. Everyone jumps on everything instantly, and I think sometimes before you tweet, it's good to take a couple of breaths and go, right, do I really want to get involved in something here? But anyway, listen, it is...
Leave it to the people who have to take care of it, Greg, because that guy, no matter what's happening, he'll get into trouble for this, and already the heat that's come on him has been unbelievable. Does he regret doing that at this point in time? Yes, if he learns for it, listen, what else is life about,
Right, okay. Well, listen, I think the real star of the show was what happened on the pitch.
yes.
I think that was... It was unbelievable. And the amount that those players put into that, they were literally the walking wounded, some of them not walking by the end of it. Right. Remarkable stuff. And that's going to be what you're talking about in your programme today. Michael McMullen of the Gaelic Life looks at the weekend quarterfinals. Can Derry win the All-Ireland? Just before, I'm interested in what Michael and you have to say about that. Did you watch the Sunday game last night? I don't watch it.
Do you know what? I was only watching a bit of it. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, okay, I don't. For probably that reason, I don't watch it at all.
Yeah.
Because even in the half time of that game, there were certain people up on that stand, and all they were looking for is to make the headline. Yeah. And when they said something and it didn't get traction, they kept saying it because they wanted that to be what was tweeted and what people said. You're spot on. You could just see it happening live. Okay. Ty Kelly joins you to discuss his life.
Right.
That's an interesting story.
Aye, listen, what a life history maker. Obviously, underage star. His dad was one of the legends at Kerry, Tim Kennelly, and Ty got scouted and got taken out to the AFL and was a star out there, but came back then. They won in All Ireland. Just his timing was unreal. So he obviously lives in Australia. He's back at the minute just for a month. So he sent me a message saying he was back. So I just said any chance of a few words, because the man has had some career over and back between here and Australia. And of course, me and him played international rules together, and we would have got on well. It was good lad.
Stuff. Ryan Ferry's on from the Donegal News. He's given you a rundown on the men's club championship draws in Donegal, and we can focus more on that this year, I suppose.
We've got a bit of time now. Yeah, we've got a bit of time. Like it's just it hasn't kicked on yet. We're still finishing out league stuff and that. I would have got it going as quick as possible, because everything still is going way into the autumn, Greg. I really thought we'd have got club championship read up early. The time frame of it still taking us into the winter months and that. I thought that would have been all happening a bit quicker, but listen, I'll get Ryan's views on it. No better man to wrap up senior, intermediate and junior.
All right, that's just after the 7 p.m. news, and it's podcast on highlandradio.com. A caller says, though, it's only a bit of pushing. This is the very issue, Mr. Devaney. They don't say Mr. Devaney, I said that. Because it's become acceptable behaviour. Coaches are telling young fellas as young as 7 to do it on the pitch. Rugby's a tougher game, and there is none of it. Now, in fairness, I remember at underage level as well, I did play a wee bit, believe it or not. And, you were told to let the fella that's marking you or vice versa, that, let him know you're there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's all part of the game. I mean, rugby, they're doing that in rugby already. That's the game. So I'm not too sure what that means. I mean, I mean, I've seen people getting savage beatings. I mean, our own O'Gara, do you remember that tour of Australia? The boy knocked the head off him. So I don't think rugby is completely out of the question in terms of physicality. There's some savage hits and shots going there. But it's a very different type of game. You're not seeing that brawl be seen. You're not seeing that. I mean, that wasn't happening in any other game. So I don't agree that it's a massive issue.
All right, such rage yesterday shown at the end of the Galway Armagh. Why? I've never saw this before. Well, you obviously haven't seen Armagh. It wasn't one of the players that caused it. Bad example from them all for our young players. Stay with me there for a second. Why are points not allowed in a GEA penalty shootout? Funny old game, the GEA. Well, theoretically, I mean, if it was points, if the teams took a notion, they could literally be there for a week kicking points. Now, obviously, someone might risk going for a goal. Well, maybe it'd be an interesting little, I don't know.
Well, the points thing, I suppose, would be kicks from the hands.
Yeah, but I think they're saying points from the penalty spot.
Right. Well, listen, if you want to hit points against goals, 3-pointer versus a 1, I don't know how that would work for you. But
I'm 80 years and I never thought I'd see the day a big, important game would end in penalties. What's going on? Greg, is Brendan's show pre-recorded? Just wondering if I can text in during it. No, it is pre-recorded for now. Penalties is soccer. Football is not Gaelic. Armagh have been hard done by and should refuse to take part in any game again. I don't think you would go along with that one fully, would you?
Right. No, I don't think that's... And listen, in many ways, it's been a brilliant year for Armagh outside of this. If they would just stop mass brawls, it would be all right.
Just stop the mass brawls.
Just stop the mass brawls. Yeah, I mean, they had phenomenal Division 1. They did the All-Star, obviously, we dumped them out. But since then, they've went on a bit of a run. That game, like at Croke Park, even though they lost it, in penalties, was unfair. But I think in terms of this squad, they were missing 5 of their better players yesterday. If they get their full team back, they'll be a handful next season. So I think when the dust settles, it still was a decent season for Armagh.
Just a couple on Armagh here. A caller says, read the fight in the tunnel at the Armagh match yesterday. Always seems to be Armagh ending up getting into fights and nothing's done about it. How come no one else seems to get into bother as much? And another, Armagh has now been involved in 3 recent brawls. Does this happen spontaneously or by design? The GEA has to stamp this out by handing out bans, in my opinion. Well, the Galway team would have said, if it's by design, it's not design. That's the kick up the backside that they needed. That maybe they were flagging a bit towards the end of the game.
But they're always going to say that, because if somebody physically comes at you, you have to respond, and this is why the brawl will come out. No team wants to take a step back, so the Galway lads are automatically going to say that in case Derry try and rough them up now in the semi. So it's an automatic thing that they're going to come out with. So it's that thing of Greg, the mentality is in there. And that last texter just said there about bans. They were banned for Donegal. They got the things overturned. So this is the issue, that the system and the process isn't correct for purpose, and this is what they need to sort out.
All right, Brendan has to go now to get the DL debate ready for you. Broadcast live after the 7 p.m. news tonight, or on demand whenever you want it on our website, highlandradio.com, from a little later on. Brendan, listen, you've loads of great guests there to get into. Thanks for joining us. All right, take care of yourself.
It's massive savings on garden furniture now in Home Store and More. You can save hundreds of euro on a great range of garden furniture, dining sets, rat-and corner lounge sets, egg and hanging chairs, gazebos, and much more. See for yourself. It's massive savings on garden furniture now in your local Home Store and More, or online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
If you're starting a new business in 2022, call into BizPrint today and get sorted. Logo design, invoice books, business cards, and all your printing needs. Call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 9177955 or visit bizprint.ie.
Shane Connolly Car Sales, now located at Drumlonagher, Donegal Town, is an independent car dealer offering excellent finance packages, and we deliver straight to your door, local or nationwide. At Shane Connolly Car Sales, Donegal Town, we sell and service all makes and models. Check out our social platforms or visit ShaneConnollyCars.com.
Join us in Austin Le Alton, Gortahorg every Thursday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance, with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Crampsey, from 9:30 till 11:30. Why not come early and enjoy a 2-course meal in the bar for just €16.95 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €60 per person. For reservations, call Austin Le Alton on 074 9135 267. Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €5,750 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Lidl's inflation-busting offers will put some sizzle in your step. Our Board B-approved smoky barbecue or spicy sriracha Irish sizzle steak double packs are only $3.79 each. Get 6 juicy tomatoes for just 49¢, and our crispy Italian lettuce packs are down from 99¢ to just 75¢. Steak offers are well done at Lidl. More for you.
Teagasc are holding a farm reseeding and drainage event this Tuesday, the 28th of June at 7 p.m. in Elistrin, Letterkenny. The location will be signposted from F92WD21. Topics include multi-species swards, reseeding practices and soil structure. Live machinery will be in operation and all are welcome.
After 3 years, Waterworld Bundoran is back. We're now open every day throughout the summer. Experience the 3-lane multi-slide, the wave pool and rapids, the twister, tornado and gravity speed slides, the Pirates Galleon ship, kids toddler pool and more. Booking essential. So get your tickets now at waterworldbundoran.com and find us on Facebook.
Okay, it's time for our Monday focus, and our focus is on Bitcoin. And we're joined by Dinny Collins, who runs Crypto with Dinny. Good morning to you, Dinny. How are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you with us. You have a workshop coming up on the 30th of June called Bitcoin Basics. It's at 7 p.m. Online, and we'll discuss how people can access that if they want to. Right, so what is Bitcoin? So if we trade Bitcoin, what precisely are we trading?
So what Bitcoin done is Bitcoin created property rights on the digital world. Okay, so how I like to explain Bitcoin is many things. Bitcoin is money, Bitcoin is digital gold, Bitcoin is digital property, and Bitcoin is an investment asset. It's even a currency in some parts of the world. So it's difficult to understand it, but a baby step that I like to take people through is Bitcoin is digital gold, because we understand the digitization of things. Bitcoin shares all the characteristics of physical gold, but it's just in a digital form. So in my hand, I'm holding a gold coin, a 1 ounce gold coin, and all the great properties of gold that have allowed this to be monetized for thousands of years. Bitcoin shares all these properties, but it not only shares them, like most things that are digital, it's 10x better on them all. So just like I'm holding a CD in my hand, and you guys will understand these, that we transformed this physical CD to a digital version. So rather than me carrying around CDs when I'm going jogging and they scratch, and I have to carry the physical CD, I can now access all the music in the world, anywhere in the world, on anyone's device, because I use digital music now. So Bitcoin is basically digital gold.
Yes, but the value from gold is, its availability. So how is the value of Bitcoin? In other words, talk to me a little bit about its mining and its existence, albeit in a digital sense, and how we couldn't have a situation whereby someone just says, here's 1 million Bitcoins, and then that devalues a Bitcoin. So, I think we can understand why gold is valuable, because it's precious and there's not much of it necessarily. So where does the value and the limits on Bitcoin come from?
Okay, great question. So where does Bitcoin come from? We call it mining, so it's similar to mining gold. Mining gold takes tremendous amounts of energy. We see that TV shows. And Bitcoin is the same. It takes energy to create Bitcoin, so nobody can just draw up a Bitcoin and say, I've got some Bitcoin. Well, they can. They're called altcoins, alternative coins, where people will create them and then market them to the public, to retail people, to try and get them to invest in them because they think it might be the next Bitcoin. But the process to acquire Bitcoin is the same for everyone. You either have to mine Bitcoin, which means you have to purchase Bitcoin mining hardware and infrastructure, and then you have to burn your own electricity to create it. Or you can buy Bitcoin on the open market, and you can buy it from exchanges or brokers.
So where does the fluctuation come from? Because the one thing that would concern me about it is that someone like Elon Musk, who's hugely influential, don't get me wrong, but he can make a comment, and the value of someone's investments could dramatically fall, or he could make a comment and the value of someone's investments could drastically increase. I mean, is it unique in that it is so not susceptible, because that shows a sign of weakness, but it's so easily manipulated by, say, for instance, one individual's comments?
Yeah, like I'd sort of push back on that a little bit and say,
100%. Hey, I'm bluffing here with questions. Push back till you're blue in the face, didn't he?
I would just say that Elon can make a comment on anything, and he can make or break anything that he comments on, not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very early in its adoptive phase, in its emergence as a new technology. Bitcoin, to take it a step deeper, is the transition, I feel, from physical store value, okay? How we store value now is we understand we can store it physically. And Bitcoin is to change that to digital store value. So therefore, like, Bitcoin is in competition with the stock market, the bond market, the currency market. Bitcoin is in competition with all investment assets like property, like whiskey. It's sort of eating capital out of all them, but it's very early, okay? Less than, a tiny percentage of the world owns this thing. So it's going to be a volatile and rocky adoption cycle. And one thing with Bitcoin is, Bitcoin isn't a get rich quick. That's where a lot of people go wrong. Bitcoin is a long term. I think it's a perfect thing to build a pension on. And in crypto with Dini, that's what we do. Not your only pension. Keep your existing, but just another iron in the fire. Let's set up a little plan B pension. Because over 13 years, this has been the highest performing asset in the world. So why not learn about it and sort of and build a little pension plan around
do you
it.
think people will have heard the stories where someone bought Bitcoin early for pittance, really, effectively, and then made a lot of money? Even just regular folk listening to this show made maybe 20 grand by, I'll just buy a couple of these Bitcoins and see how we get on, if they got out at the right time. Do you think that's still the image of Bitcoin that people have, rather than that sort of long-term investment opportunity that you describe?
Yeah, I think we all come to Bitcoin as a get rich quick. That was sort of my gateway. Bitcoin almost has this inbuilt marketing because of the volatility that the asset has, and it skyrockets up to really crazy prices, and people pay attention and media talks about it, and then more people come in. Okay, and then it has a market correction or a crash, and it's done this in sort of 4-year cycles. But the important information is that anyone who's held Bitcoin for 4 years in the history of Bitcoin has always been in a better financial position in their Bitcoin wealth, denominated in euros or dollars or whatever. So I teach people, if you're not prepared to save in Bitcoin for at least 4 years, you're probably better off not getting involved in it. And again, Bitcoin sort of rewards deferring your gratification. Every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. And scarcity and value, what makes gold, pound for pound, the most valuable thing on the planet? It's that it's so scarce. In 2024, Bitcoin takes over as gold, and it becomes scarcer than gold. All right, and at the moment, the scarcest thing on the planet is worth 10 trillion. In 2 years' time, Bitcoin becomes the scarcest thing on the planet. Logical thinking would think, well, it's got to be worth 10 trillion, though, and at the moment it's worth under $500 million. Maybe
who controls it, though? Who is making a determination to reduce its availability? Because is it an organization, is it a group, or is it an individual?
Bitcoin is an amazing invention in that no one even knows who created it. It's an open, permissionless software protocol. Anyone can look at the code. I can't read computer code, but if anyone who can look at it. There's no crazy stuff or hidden stuff. There's no company behind Bitcoin. It's just an open, permissionless protocol that people can use or choose not to use. The rules of the protocol are built in that every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin is chopped in half. And that's why we get these huge price rallies. Because I explain to people in the halving, let's say I'm a crypto exchange and I sell Bitcoin, okay? And at the moment, 6 Bitcoins are created every 10 minutes, Greg, okay? 6 every 10 minutes. So 6 customers come into my home office here, into the exchange, and they pick up the 6 Bitcoin and they leave, okay? And every 10 minutes that process happens, Bitcoin's price stays the same, okay? In 2024, I'll only have 3 on the shelf rather than 6. Now, unlike anything else on the planet, okay, when the demand goes up, we can bring the supply up. But with Bitcoin, it's the first technology that when the demand increases, we have no ability to increase the supply. So even if we put that to gold, if the price of gold goes to $10,000, more people will mine gold. Gold mines that were unprofitable at 7 grand, 2 grand are now profitable. So we bring more supply of gold. So we bring price suppression. So Bitcoin doesn't have that. It just has this inbuilt scarcity. That's why we say Bitcoin is money. It's programmed to go up in value over time, as opposed to euros, which are programmed to go down in value over time. And that's why we save in a little bit of Bitcoin. We don't have to go 100% all in. I didn't put my parents in that position, but they own some Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it's still a bit mysterious, isn't it? And maybe people would not have the same protections that they might have with other investments. I mean, we've all seen the ads. Investments can go up as well as down. I think that's accepted. But for a lot of us, we can understand more clearly why that is, in terms of maybe stocks or pensions or whatever it might be. Bitcoin, and in your description there, and by the way, I'm not anti-Bitcoin at all. I'm learning as we're having this conversation. it's still a bit mysterious. And I'm just thinking, with the cybercrime that's ongoing at the moment, the Russians perhaps haven't unleashed all their capabilities. I mean, is there any protections in that regard? You know what I mean? That the market can't be flooded with Bitcoin, or the code can't be corrupted? Because we're talking about people's nest eggs here, potentially, Dinny.
Yes. So you're correct in saying with Bitcoin, we don't have the consumer protection. We don't have the regulation. That, in my eyes, is the opportunity. If people have tiny allocations, so that means you're risking maybe 1% of your investment portfolio, and you can, as your education and conviction builds, you can increase that allocation. But even half to 1% means you have very little capital at risk, but you have access to the highest performing asset in the world. Now, with what you've said about consumer protection, I would like to caution your audience that within Bitcoin, because there's a misunderstanding and people don't, and literally before I was waiting to come on air with you, I looked at an email, and I have an email from a lady who was scammed for $25,000. And this is happening every day. So the most important thing with Bitcoin, I know, is education. Before you put your money into it, spend a little bit of time on educating. And there's great educators. I'm one of them. There's people all over the world. You can pay to do courses. You can do stuff for free on YouTube. But time and education is going to be your best return before you.
So a lot of the bad press is not people necessarily losing or being scammed actually with Bitcoins. It's the scams around sort of Bitcoins that people are exploiting, maybe these gaps in knowledges, and people are they're not investing in anything at all. Is that what you're saying about making sure that you speak to someone who knows what's what, and you don't find yourself being scammed around the world of Bitcoin, but not by it itself?
Yeah, so Greg, what Bitcoin is Bitcoin is like cash in the digital world. Now, the majority of fraud in the world happens through cash, through United States dollars or euros, okay? And we can understand that. If you hand someone 500 euros and they walk away, it's hard to undo that transaction. With our banking system, we do have the protections that if I am scammed, that I send money to someone and they don't sell me the product, well, the banking system has consumer protections where they can reverse that transaction. Within Bitcoin, because Bitcoin acts like cash in the digital world, you can't reverse the transaction. So as the Bitcoin industry catches up, there will be consumer protection built into it, but at the moment people are vulnerable. So it's not that Bitcoin scammed them, it's just that someone used Bitcoin to run a scam, just like someone could use cash.
If someone were to invest €1,000 in Bitcoin, what's a likely return? I mean, you can't promise anything, and you've been very clear on that. But I mean, what would be a likely, realistically return, and over what period of time?
How Bitcoin historically has performed is around 160%. A year. Now, it doesn't do that every year. So one year it'll be down 20, the next year it might be up 10, and the next year it could be flat, and then the year after that it goes up 700%, aligned with these halving events. Now, while I don't think it's good to promise people if you buy Bitcoin you will get this, because it's an unknown. It's only a 13-year-old asset, and that's why we manage our risk accordingly. However, for me, if I was to forecast a Bitcoin price, I think Bitcoin could perform, at 50% compounded annual returns, possibly over the next decade. And if you walk through that with a bit of information, you go, well, we're at 20k now. That means by 2024 we have to get to 40k. We're going to double every 2 years. Yeah, okay, we can get to 40k in a fortnight. If Elon Musk puts out a positive tweet, we get to 40k in an hour. Okay, and then we have to get to 80k by 2026. We'll have halved in 2024. That's when we get this huge price rally. And when you work that into a decade, you can sort of go, okay, that means we need a $320,000 Bitcoin by the end of this decade.
And can people say, for instance, I invested €1,000, and I'm just using that as a figure, and then it rallies to 2,400. Can you get out of it at that point, if you know what I mean? Yes. Can you say, right, you know what, I'm going to sell these. Will someone buy them at that price? I can't. Why would anyone be buying Bitcoin at its peak, if you know what I mean?
Sure. Bitcoin is the most liquid thing on the planet, and that means that you can sell Bitcoin any minute of the day, every day of the year, even on Christmas Day. You can't do that with almost everything else in the world. So it's very easy to get your money into Bitcoin and to get your money out of Bitcoin. You can try and time the market. A lot of people think it's about trading. So you look at charts and you try and buy low and sell high. For me, like the statistics on trading and all these trading platforms will even tell you most of our customers lose money doing this. So armed with that information, I'm not interested in trading Bitcoin. I'm interested in owning Bitcoin in a decade. And it makes life very simple for me. I'm also not interested in buying at the very bottoms because I don't know where they are. Hindsight's 2020. We can look back now and go, why would anyone buy Bitcoin at 70k when now it's 20k. Like, surely that was foolish. But we use what's called, to build a Bitcoin position, dollar cost averaging. So just like we allocate to our pension, every month, our regular pension, a portion of our wages goes into the pension. It's the same when we build this alternative plan B pension, that you just decide what's your amount. Okay, I'm going to invest 50 euros a month, and I'm going to do it on the last Friday of the month, and I just do it. I don't even look at the price of Bitcoin. I don't need to, because I'm thinking of the value of Bitcoin in the future. I'm thinking, like, a story I like to say is Blockbuster and Netflix. When Netflix started, they were this tiny company, and Blockbuster had a monopoly on the whole market, and Netflix had this digital version of Blockbuster's physical business. Okay, now in a very short period of time, Blockbuster had to file for bankruptcy because Netflix has completely demonetized their business, because we transitioned from the physical to the digital. And I just see humans only move towards technology. So I see in this decade and the decades that follow, Bitcoin continues to monetize, and its value today it's way undervalued. It's like Netflix stocks when they started as a company.
Yeah, this caller says, although the way Netflix stocks are going, you might have to switch up that analogy, especially to the way Blockbuster shares went up when the Reddit users got involved. But I understand. But that analogy might become outdated soon. But I get your point.
Just on that, Greg, the stock market is down 90 years. We haven't crashed as much in regular world. So I think people are talking about Bitcoin's 70% correction. I'm like, I think in relative terms, Bitcoin is holding up amazingly well, because our legacy stock market is an absolute ruin.
This caller says Bitcoin doesn't exist. It's like grabbing thin air. It's a digital entity with no holding value. If I buy a Bitcoin and lose my computer, the Bitcoin is gone. If I'm online and I buy a virtual fire for €20, it won't heat my house.
That's correct. Bitcoin does exist because that's what blockchain technology is. Now, the problem is we all have to get over the hurdle of, can we see something digital that you can't touch or feel or hold have value? Okay, but how I push back on that is, I live in the world where I grew up in the physical world, and I transitioned to the digital world, and I live in both. But there's generations behind who don't see a difference in physical value and digital like we do, me and you and most people my age and a little bit older. Some people can't understand digital value yet. But if you speak to your kids and say, what did they ask for Christmas? A lot of them wanted FIFA credits, skins in computer games. None of that stuff, technically it does exist, it's just computer code, but it doesn't have a physical, it doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's
world.
Young teenagers literally at the moment, and you can continue what you were going to say, but there's young ones at the moment playing FIFA are literally trading digitally, and they see a value in what they're doing. They paid an initial sum for a game pack that produced a certain amount of players, and they are buying, selling players as their value increases and decreases. That is ongoing as we speak. Now, it's not real money, real world money, but young people, that's precise. They're all digitally trading at the moment, many of them.
Yeah, so generations behind us don't see a difference between physical and digital value. It's just the same to them. It's like I have a bicycle and I have my skins in a computer game. If my skins go, that's as big a problem to me as my bicycle getting stolen. In fact, I don't even want a bicycle. I'm more interested in the digital. So some generations already are there. That's the world we move into, where I can get it. And I'll give you one little example how I explain this to people. There's a gold investor, okay? His name's Peter Schiff. He owns a lot of gold. And obviously he's incentivized to bash Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the digital version of his physical product. But he has a son called Spencer, okay? And it's probably a bit of family marketing. But Spencer is very much into Bitcoin and has no time for gold. He's like, Dad, why would I want to hold these bars and pay for storage when I can carry them around on my phone? However, the father's going to pass away. The son is going to inherit a load of gold bars. He's never owned them before. He's no interest in them. What happens to all those gold bars? Well, Spencer sells them and buys Bitcoin with them. So inevitably we move into this Bitcoinized world, I suppose. It's just going to take a period of time.
It's happening all the while. Even the cigarette industry trying to discredit the vaping industry at the same time buying shares in the vaping industry because they know the direction of traffic. It happens all the while. Right, if people want more information, this online workshop, where do they get the info? And it's, it's buyer beware. You're going to give them as much information as you possibly can, but you buy or invest in anything, no matter what it is, there's always an element of risk. And as you said, you don't put all your eggs in any basket in any investment or purchase, I presume. But how can people get more information about what you're doing, Denny?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Cryptowithdinny.com. We do free workshops Full disclosure, I do paid consulting and I have paid products, but we do a free workshop called Bitcoin Basics. It's on this Thursday. If you go on to cryptowithdinny.com, you'll be able to sign up for free, and you'll just get me on the Zoom, and we'll be talking a little bit more about Bitcoin, and it'll be time for a full Q&A at the end, so you can ask me anything.
All right, interesting. Thanks, Dinny. Appreciate it. Dinny Collins, he runs Crypto with Dinny. It's not going to be for everyone, but as I say, not everyone's talking about it. A lot of people are talking about it, and just to try and give you some information. A caller says, forget Bitcoin, tulip bulbs are the next big thing. All right, okay. Another caller says, I invested 10k on Bitcoin prior to COVID. I, for a fact, made 20 grand. They doubled their money. Will I invest again? They say no. I think it was a lucky break, nothing else. Okay. Another, if everyone turns to Bitcoin, how are they going to pay tax, corporate tax, since the government won't accept it? Well, if there was that big a transition to Bitcoin, you don't seriously think the government are going to leave themselves short on pocket? I don't think so. Right, we'll get more of your comments after the break. Stay where you are. It's the 9 till noon show. We're into the last 10 minutes.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Pet Value have a brand new store at St Mary's Road, Buncrana. I called in at the weekend. The animals are incredible. Plus, they have so much on offer. They know a lot about what is best for your pets, from the smallest fish to the largest dog. Pet Value Buncrana. They care about your pets.
Gutcha go glishy tú faoi Gaelphobal Línra Litter Cannon.
Gaelphobal Línra Litter Cannon?
Sha to Línra Litter Cannon mar Gaelphobal. If you want to promote more Irish in your business, learn Irish, join our book club, or to speak more Irish, young or old, Coupla Focal na Umlan Lifa, there's a welcome for you in Línra Litter Cannon. Find out more at gaelphobal.ie.
Crohi spas, don Gaelige.
Gaelphobal.
Gaelige le Gaele.
Our McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ourmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. Our McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
So I was trying to explain a little earlier on. I mean, obviously, you know, people are going to feel that businesses are trying to take advantage. But as I was pointing out, one of the core expenses is electricity for businesses, and their prices have gone through the roof. Now, I predict it's going to be a big conversation coming down the track soon, because bills are starting to land now much higher than they were previously, and commercial rates are higher than domestic rates. This caller says, this business person says, and I appreciate you getting involved in the conversation. Our small shop has 2 fridges and 1 freezer. The electricity bill went from €800 to €2,200. This is going to end in the closure of many businesses. Never did I think our electricity was cost more than our rent. So there's a company there, small company, 3 electrical items in it. Their bill has went from €800 to €2,200. They now pay more for electricity than they are for rent. You're absolutely right about electricity and a lot of other overheads. They're crippling small businesses. They have no option but to raise prices, as everything has gone up by at least 25%. Right. Hi, looking for some information. My child's going to Sansaponsa next week. What COVID requirements are needed flying from Belfast? Is there any? I don't know. I haven't looked at that for a while. I'll have to check that out for you. Or some of our listeners will have experience of that and can share it more straight away. 08660 25,000 if you don't mind. Right, we heard from Ruth earlier on. She was trying to book the wheelchair at Rathmullen for her son to access the beach. She missed out on a school trip in the first instance. They went down to the beach yesterday. There was no information about it. And as I say, I've seen these signs elsewhere saying it's available with numbers, but it's only available if you can get it. Local councillor Jimmy Kavanagh's on with us, line 1. Hi, Jimmy. No, sorry, it's not
How are
line
you?
2. I'm all right. Caroline, we've line 1 now? Okay. Jimmy, good morning to you. Right, okay.
Good morning, Greg.
Wheelchair at Rathmullen Beach.
Greg,
Is it
I
available?
can give you a little. I can give you a little bit of an update, and it's not a full update, but the beach wheelchair in Rathmullen is available from today at the sailing school at the beach, and that's from today until the 18th of August, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Now, there is a problem regarding the number that lady was ringing, and that needs to be that number needs to be removed and an updated number provided. Now, I can't tell you what that number will be today, but I can tell you that the beach wheelchair is available from today 9 to 5 at the sailing school.
Right, so you go to the sailing school and say, can I book this for an hour, or we're heading to the beach for a couple of hours? So how does it work?
Yeah, just like you said, if whoever needs it can just go there and ask for it. That's how it works. But it will have to get an updated number as well, Greg. But I'll have to find that from the council and get that updated, because obviously there's weekends as well. So that's only Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So there'll be people looking for the weekends as well. So we'll need a number for that.
I'm not being critical, but it's not really a wheelchair for Rathmullen Beach, is it? Because you can't go after work. I mean, if you've got a family member or a young person, you can't go in the evening. At the moment, you can't go at the weekend. It's kind of... It's there, but it's not there.
Again, Greg, I hear what you're saying, but the school is open Monday, Friday, 9 to 5, but the wheelchair, will hopefully be available in the evenings and that as well.
Okay.
That people
but we haven't worked that out
but
yet, have we?
Sorry?
Have we not worked that out yet? How, if I want to book
I
it this evening for 7?
I couldn't find that. I couldn't find that out for you this morning, Greg, because I couldn't get the relevant person in Donegal County Council.
But you get where I'm coming from,
I'm
Jimmy.
waiting on them to call me back.
If me and you can't,
yeah.
And it's not you're trying to help here, by the way. It's not your fault. But my point is if you're waiting to get info and struggling to get it, and it's not available anywhere, that it's not great. We need to get this sorted, not just in Rathmullen but everywhere. And you'll let us know, of course, Jimmy, when you know, and we'll get it out to the public as well.
Yeah, but just that's a little bit of information today, Greg, that it is available at the sailing school from today until the 18th of August, Monday to Friday,
right,
9 to 5.
And why does it end at the 18th of August? Sorry, just in the middle of the summer season. What?
Yeah, I think on the 18th of August the sailing school closes again. So then it would be back at that stage to ring in a number and go and collect it. So. It'll still be there, but the arrangements for getting it will be slightly different, obviously.
And do we know who we're ringing, or is it an individual? Is it the council? Who is it?
Yeah, it was. There was a number given, Greg, with that, but that number is, to be honest, is historical, right, because the person's number that was given, at the time when the beach wheelchair was first provided.
They're not involved currently
to do that anymore.
All right, I understand. It's just it's we need to get this right, Jimmy. It's not your fault, by the way. You're
And
helping us with info. I just want to
yeah.
make that point clear in case people are thinking I'm having a go at you. I'm not for a second.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry for coming in. I'm sorry for coming in with incomplete.
Well, no,
information,
listen,
Greg,
it's there 9 to 5.
No,
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to have that info Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 until the 18th of August. We'll fill in the blanks between now and tomorrow or the day after. Thanks for your help, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. All right, that was the 9 till noon show here on Highland